Okay, Matthew is here. Okay, everyone's here. Hi. Welcome to the March 11th, 2021 Planning Board meeting. Before we begin today, please join the Planning Board in a sincere remembrance for the loss of Phil Keith, our beloved colleague. Thank you. I will call the roll. Vice Chair Vinity.
Present.
Board Member Zuccarelli.
Present.
Board Member Long.
Present.
Board Member Glorienberg.
Present.
Craig Candidato.
He is here.
Yes.
He's coming in.
He's here. Okay. And Chair is here. So we have a quorum. So welcome to the March 11th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Southampton Planning Board. In accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1 and its related extensions and until further notice, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference. So we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. I acknowledge Craig, who is here. Can you please join in for a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to
and to the republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
Under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and
and justice for all.
There are July 14th minutes to approve. Is that the correct date, Patty?
January 14th, 2021.
January 14th, 2021. Do I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by Zuccarelli, second by Glorian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Okay, we will close out the, I have to read the rest of the preamble, sorry. We have a full agenda posted on the town's website for today's meeting. The town's planning staff, as well as applicants and their representatives, will be participating via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Certain will be muting and holding the speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to give testimony before the board. A reminder that applicants and their agents should state their name and address for the record. As is typical, there are no public comments allowed during our daytime meetings, nor is it appropriate for the public to use the chat function to comment on applications. The link to participate in today's meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. If you're having difficulty accessing the meeting, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Finally, in accordance with the governor's order, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed at a later date and will be made available to the public. So we will close out the afternoon session and go into a work session for number 1, 911 Flanders LLC. Is the applicant's representative here?
Who was that?
I believe it's, there might be several people, but I believe Anthony Curcio.
Okay. I see.
Okay, it says,
Keith,
He's coming in.
okay,
Keith
Keith Brown, yep.
Keith Brown.
Okay, so just to give you just a brief background here, this is the site at the traffic circle in Riverside, Flanders. This board, it's HB zoning district. The site contained a gas station previously. This board held a work session a couple of years ago on this site for Cumberland Farms with a gas station. The applicant has submitted a pre-submission conference request, which we're having the pre-submission conference on March 25th, for a 7-Eleven convenience store, 3,000 square feet, with gas station use, I believe 6 pumps. And this board asked the applicant to come in for a work session to sort of just go over what they're proposing. I believe they have a number of documents to show the board. So we'll just leave it up to the applicant if the board has any questions.
Anthony, just give us a quick rundown on what's allowed in this zone.
Well, it's the highway business zone. So there's a whole series of uses that are permitted. Gas station use is a special exception use in that zone. A convenience store in and of itself is not a permitted use in that zoning district. The applicant is putting forth an application in which they're saying that the 7-Eleven is an accessory to the gas station. So that's sort of where we are with this. But a convenience store by itself is not a permitted use. It's permitted as accessory to a gas station.
And on Cumberland Farms, which is the exact same application or similar enough?
It's similar. It was a gas station with a Cumberland Farms, convenience store.
And did that go through to the ZBA?
They never proceeded with that. You had a work session on that, and then nothing ever came of it. No application was submitted. But a few years later, now this application came in, which is similar to what we looked at previously.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Curcio, is someone going to go first?
Yes, it's Keith Brown. I'm the attorney for the applicant, 911 Flanders Road LLC. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, yeah.
So just a couple things. Number one, I apologize. I have difficulty getting my laptop to work with the Wi-Fi where I am, but I'll be able to get through it because most of the information I have in hard copy. So just to point out something that was stated by Mr. Trezza, if I could expand upon that, the Cumberland Farms application that was bought several years ago was actually for a 5,000 square foot convenience store. This application is for a much more modest convenience store size. That 5,000 square foot, if you're familiar with the Cumberland Farms on the corner of County Route 111 and the Long Island Expressway, the southwest corner is more of a 5,000 square foot size convenience store. This one is much more modest with 3,000 square feet. And I'll get into some of the proof, but just wanted to say right at the outset that the other 2 gas stations on the traffic circle located there in Riverside, the one is 910 square feet. They do not have a bathroom facility. They actually have a porta potty that's located outside of the building. And the other one, the 76 gas station, has a 1,200 square foot building, and that has a single bathroom today that is currently not operating. As of yesterday, we went and checked it out. So this convenience store will have 2 fully handicap accessible bathrooms located inside. And that's a very important distinction because of the size that we need in order for someone who is handicapped to be able to get out of their vehicle, utilize the handicap ramp, enter into the store, and if they have to use the bathroom, to make their way through the store, around the shelving, which we call gondolas, and make their way to the bathroom without bumping into, product the entire way. So I just wanted to kind of lay that out right at the outset. So with that, I'd like to continue. So good day, Ms. Chairman and members of the Planning Board. My name is Keith Brown. I'm with the law firm of Brown, Altman, and DeLeo. We're located at 538 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 301 in Melville, New York, 11747. My firm represents the applicant 911 Flanders LLC. And for those who are not aware, 911 Flanders is the landlord and has recently entered into a ground lease to redevelop the property with a 7-Eleven gas station and accessory convenience store at the property. As a matter of housekeeping, in advance of today's hearing, all sign postings were performed in compliance with the town code on March 15th of this year. And the photos of the sign postings were submitted to the planning board on March 23rd. Earlier today, we provided the affidavit of posting to the planning board, signed and notarized with today's date. Just by way of background, I'm sure you're all familiar with the site, but if just to point out that the subject property is located on the southeast corner of Flanders Road and Riverley Avenue, with frontages on both streets. Directly to the east of the subject property are a mixture of commercial and residential buildings. Directly to the south of the subject property is a coffee house, the Budget Inn, and the New York State Police Department barracks.
Excuse me,
South-
can we get a site plan up?
Sure. Chris, if you could put up a site plan. While he's doing that, I'll just continue with some of the background. Southwest of the building, southwest of the property, across Riverley Avenue is a professional office building. And directly north and across the street from the subject premises is a McDonald's, an oxygen bar, and the aforementioned 76 gasoline station with accessory convenience store. Directly west of the property, across Riverley Avenue and Lake Avenue, is a Shell station with the other aforementioned convenience store. Chris or David, could you guys pull up?
I just let him in.
Okay, great. If you just
I
pull
was
that up.
just admitted now. Hi, this is Chris. I'm going to share my screen now. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
Okay. There we go. You just zoom in a little bit. Okay. According to the town building department records, the property was previously improved with a gasoline service station back in 1969 and 1994. However, the underground storage tanks at the property were removed in 2013 as a result of the new Suffolk County underground storage tank regulations, which were put in place. As such, the property is currently vacant and it hasn't been used for quite some time. I'm told by my client that it's been defunct for about 10 years now. 911 Flanders Road is proposing to demolish any and all existing improvements on the property and in their place construct a little over 3,000 square foot accessory convenience store, all in accordance with the site plan submitted with the application and incorporated herein. 911 Flanders is also proposing to add a new canopy, state-of-the-art 6 fuel dispensers, concrete sidewalks and islands, landscape buffers and embellishments, and a new signage pursuant to the sign plan submitted with the application incorporated herein. The property will include an abundance of parking for 30 parking stalls. The fuel islands will remain beneath the existing 3,096 square foot canopy with 12 vehicle fueling positions fed by 3 below ground fuel tanks. The new gasoline service station with accessory convenience store will not only clean up, liven, and refresh what is currently a blighted parcel on a major thoroughfare in the town of Southampton, but also provide services to the community. And most importantly, which is a point that Mr. Tartaglia and Mr. Valari will get into in a little bit, is the fact that we've designed a site with an effort to make it more conducive for walkability, such that people who might be spending the day downtown in Riverhead, who want to grab a cup of coffee or want to grab a refreshment or a snack, could walk over to the convenience store and they can navigate their way very easily with the pedestrian-friendly sidewalks and accessibility that we've incorporated. The property has remained vacant and unused for several years, as I mentioned, and prior to the redevelopment, efforts have been unsuccessful. They've tried multiple times to look to ways of redeveloping the property, and they have been unsuccessful. And after discussions with the town, there was no objection to the proposed development. The proposed design by 911 Flanders on behalf of 7-Eleven will utilize the existing property in an aesthetically pleasing and refined manner that will enhance the character of the surrounding area. Specifically, the convenience store will be a masonry build sided by brick, stone, veneer, and decorative dormers with clapboard siding. Chris, if you could just pull up the color rendering that we did. There you go. Thank you. The site will also be beautifully landscaped in an attractive manner consistent with the town of Southampton standards. And the dumpster will be located in a masonry structure and landscaped enclosure and will be located such that the dumpster will back up to the existing building that's located directly to the east. The site is presently dilapidated, as you're aware, and vacant and located on an active and busy thoroughfare. The improvements created by 911 Flanders will reduce blight and increase the viability of the roundabout. Specifically, the proposed design will increase walkability and provide a much needed enhancement to the downtown area and the circle. The home plate layout of the proposed convenience store allows for the best ingress and egress for automobile and truck traffic. And there will also be no substantial impact on the overall traffic due to the location of the parcel and the normal traffic flow of the roundabout, which is a point that Mr. Valari will go into in a little bit. The request by 911 Flanders to build the 3,024 square foot size convenience store is essential to 7-Eleven's operations, specifically since a smaller reconstituted design does not meet the required safety specifications required, but not limited to the fuel field being required to be as far away as possible from the convenience store. And the present design allows for adequate space to install the septic system. Also, the 7-Eleven convenience store provides a vast difference in quality service and overall items than the other convenience stores located on the circle. Other convenience stores in the immediate vicinity of the parcel do not provide nearly the same offerings, and I already discussed the bathrooms, and therefore will be substantially less square footage. And the requested 3,024 square foot build is required to accommodate the installation of the 2 ADA bathrooms. As the planning board is aware, the prior use of the property was a gas station. The proposed design by 911 Flanders is not overly intensive in its construct, and the applicant's design conforms with the character of the neighborhood, will not have an adverse impact on the surrounding area, and is not substantial. So I laid out for you some information about the other gas stations. The 76 is located at 7 Peconic Avenue. That one contains the 910 square foot convenience store, and it has 4 pump islands and 8 fueling positions. And in the other gas station, the Shell, located at 9 Lake Avenue, that one has a total square footage of 2,030 square feet, but its convenience store is only 1,200 square feet, and it consists of 4 pump islands and 8 fueling positions. The only other thing I'd like to point out in my overview is that we thought it'd be helpful to the planning board to see what the buildable envelope is of the property. Because of this irregular configuration and its location on the traffic circle, when you incorporate the town's zoning code bulk requirements, Chris has put it up now, you can see that the overall building envelope is extremely limited. So my point being that there's no way around the fact that we need some variances. What we've done is worked within the confines of the irregular shaped parcel located on the traffic circle. And we've come up with a site design after multiple variations. And I'll allow Mr. Tartaglia to talk about it in a second, our civil engineer. But the home plate design was really the most advantageous for multiple reasons, which he'll elaborate on. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Chris Tartaglia, Principal of High Point Engineering, our project engineer. After him, Andrew Valari from Stonefield Engineering, our traffic expert, will be speaking. And I just want to point out that we have representatives on the call from 7-Eleven, Mr. Kenneth Bordieri, our senior real estate representative. We have our architects on the call, and we have Mr. Richard Goober, a representative for 911 Flanders LLC. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Tartaglia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We don't have unlimited time here. This is a work session and we have a very full agenda. So
Okay.
whoever is key to speak, please use them and not anyone accessory to that, okay?
Then we will just have Mr. Tartaglia and Mr. Valari speak. Thank you,
Thanks.
Madam Chair.
Okay, my statements will be brief, folks. For the record, my name is Chris Tartaglia. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So Keith's done a good job of describing the layout. Just a couple of key points I want to reiterate. In terms of the overall site design and obviously concerns about ingress, egress, and traffic, Mr. Valari will talk more about this, but some of the key elements here that we have done, which is evident on the plan that's in front of you, is we're locating the access points as physically far away from the intersection as possible, in keeping with good planning, good traffic engineering. That's always a desired element of all site design, especially at gasoline stations. With regard to the layout of the building, you can see it's, as Keith indicated, a sort of a half a pie shape or a home plate that fits in very well with this oddly shaped property. And the green space area that you see to the east side of the building is what we're going to be utilizing for our septic system. We've got relatively shallow groundwater here, so there's a significant footprint required for the compliant septic system. So that's where that area fits in quite well. I would also note, just looking quickly at the aerial photo, that we have the benefit here of not impacting any residential properties. We're not up against any residential properties or uses here, which is always a concern, obviously, of your board and in commercial development. So with that, I know we want to be brief. I would offer myself for any questions that the board may have. I'm sure there might be some, but maybe we just get through Mr. Valari's commentary, and then we can certainly circle back and answer any site-related questions if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do
I have
that.
a question on this. On Flanders Road, there seems always to be a much larger backup than on the other roads, especially in rush hour. Would it be possible the exit onto Flanders Road be limited to right turn only? And if they wish to go to any of the other three, they simply use the exit on the other side. So they still have access to the three other roads, and they limit someone going out into the road, possibly not being able to get a space to get in between, and not backing up the people going south into the circle. So I'm not saying to do it because I'm not a traffic engineer, but could you look at the possibility of limiting the egress onto Flanders Road to a right turn only, and then direct traffic for those that may wish to go to one of the others, that they simply take the other side, they can go out onto the road. My comment is ended.
Mr. Zuccarelli, I think that's a great point. I'll address that right up front. Just for everyone's benefit, my name is Andrew Valeri. I'm a traffic engineer from Stonefield Engineering and Design on behalf of the applicant. So regarding access, just taking one step back, Flanders Road is a DOT roadway. Riverly Avenue is a Suffolk County roadway. We did submit this plan to the state. That was back in September, just to make sure that they were comfortable with the type of access that we were showing. And Mr. Zuccarelli, you're right on the money. Left turns out onto Flanders Road, the state would not be amenable to. So in terms of exiting traffic, on Flanders Road, you'll have to make a right turn out. And it's not the worst case in the world, because if you're trying to go any other direction, you could use the driveway on Riverly to get back to the roundabout and head all points. So I think that's a very astute comment that you made. One of the things I wanted to discuss, and everyone is very well aware of where this site's located. It's on the edge of Southampton, next to the entrance to downtown Riverhead. The roundabout, as everyone's very well aware, recently improved by Suffolk County, major capital improvement. They increased the capacity in terms of how traffic travels through the intersection, and also, maybe more importantly, is the safety. They changed the way all of the approaches enter the intersection to improve safety. And then in the same vein, the pedestrian improvements are key here. Previously, I don't think that it would be of great environment for pedestrians. But after this application, I think that the county did an amazing job in designing this. There are pedestrian refuge islands basically in the middle of every approach. So if you are, heading from downtown Riverhead, you want to walk into the 7-Eleven store, you do have the ability to do so. It's all very well connected and very well orchestrated. And that you may be thinking, why would someone walk to a 7-Eleven with a gas station? And that's an okay thought to have. It's because this development is not going to be like the other two gas stations on the property. The other two gas stations have convenience stores, but as Mr. Brown mentioned, they're very, very small. There's not a lot of offering. The new 7-Eleven prototypes, I'm not sure if you've seen some of them that are around the island. They're very nice. They're very modern. There's like a coffee bar inside. There's a fresh food offering. Those types of offerings would entice pedestrians. And I think that it's a great location for 7-Eleven to go because of the pedestrian improvement and what enables people to get on and off the site so safely. Transitioning from pedestrians to vehicles, because this is definitely going to be a vehicle-based development. It's a gas station, of course. This use, in my review, is a very good use for this intersection. Now, I say that for a number of reasons, but probably first and foremost is that a gas station previously existed here, and there's other ones in the area. What type of traffic is associated with a gas station or a convenience store? It's what's called in the industry pass-by traffic. You're traveling through the roundabout, heading in any different direction. Maybe you're going to work, maybe you're going to points east. You're heading through the intersection. You need to get gas. You see a nice 7-Eleven gas station. You see a nice 7-Eleven. You pull off. You hit the site, you get the gas, you get your cup of coffee, and then you keep going, right? You were already going through the roundabout as it was, so you're not necessarily new traffic that's added to the development. Mr. Trezza mentioned that this is a highway business district, so any of the typical uses that you have here, in the highway business district could go on this site. Those uses would have more new traffic added to the area, right? If this was an office, there'd be more traffic. 7-Eleven, it just preys on the traffic that's adjacent to it. So it's actually a very good use here for not increasing the delay that you may be accustomed to going through the intersection. We are in the process of wrapping up a traffic impact study. We'll be more than happy to submit that before to this board before the next meeting. We are in the process of doing a level of service analysis where we've done counts and analysis. The early indication is that the driveways would operate very, very well given the site layout. And again, like I mentioned, the access on Flanders would have left turns out restricted, and the access on Riverly would be restricted to right in, right out only. And when you restrict certain movements, you may have unwanted traffic in other places. If you can't make a left out, how do you get where you're going? Being located on this roundabout is a great thing because you could make a right turn out and still go in any direction that you want because you're going to get into the roundabout and you can go all 5 points here. So just want to conclude here. I appreciate everyone's time listening to the application, but I really think this is a great application for this intersection that's been, the subject of some blight for over a decade. So I hope that we can have a positive conversation about the site plan.
Thank you, Andrew. And just two more points I'd like to bring up, Madam Chair, is if we go back to the color renderings, Chris, we have enhanced architecture. Specifically, we have a cultured stone water table on the building, dog shed dormers on the roof. We have moldings, columns, and appointed details, as well as the canopy is made of a beautiful crown molding design, as well as the enhanced landscaping. So that concludes.
Is that 7-Eleven corporate architecture?
This will be the only 7-Eleven that looks like this on Long Island.
The one up on Flanders, further west?
I'm not familiar, but this one is
7-Eleven up not far.
Going south.
Yes,
right.
Excuse me.
This design is unique to this location.
It looks like the one south.
Yeah, it looks similar to me. I don't think that
Yeah.
The dormers are there, but I.
The one, the
Right.
one on Flanders
Flanders
River,
Road.
it's hardy plank. It's hardy plank.
Yeah.
Hardy board.
There,
Can
can
I
I,
ask a question, please? How does
Certainly.
the 7-Eleven convenience store improve the downtown? You had
By-
made a
yes.
statement that it improves the downtown. I'd like to know how it does. And I also, how does this fit in with the overlay district?
Sure. So as it relates to the downtown, so having a convenience store where you have people congregating, you might have, a family ride their bicycles down, or there's kayaking that's available right on the Peconic River there, or people are out shopping and they want to, walk across, as Mr. Valari said, there's now pedestrian places where, I can't think of the name of the word.
I understand
Refuge.
how.
Refuge,
how
thank
you're
you.
gonna utilize. I'm trying to understand how this improves the downtown.
Sure. Well,
And how it fits in with the overlay district.
Sure. It fits in with the downtown in a number of different ways. As I was saying, from just people who are out, on their daily routine, they come to downtown Riverhead, and they don't necessarily want to. They want to grab something quick. They want a cup of coffee or something because their kids they want to get to where they're going, or they're out shopping or whatnot. But in terms of the overall overlay district, the owners, 911 Flanders, have been paying attention to what has been developing in the town. And the idea that sewers would come to this area has been talked about for the better part of a decade. But there is no hope in the future of ever getting sewers anytime soon. So the point being is that they tried to do several different developments, but ultimately this is the only development that is available where they had a proposed tenant who was interested in utilizing the property for use. So it creates an opportunity for the town to repurpose this site. It was a gas station. It was a Getty for many years. But to have the opportunity to put it's zoned highway business. This is a permitted use in the highway business. And by enhancing the architecture, enhancing the landscaping, and coming up with, a great site plan like we have, it really, is an attribute to this area. And as Mr. Valari said,
Mr. Brown, you're aware that there's a McDonald's across the street. You're aware that we have a approved site plan on the other side of the street for a restaurant. So
Yes.
it will not be the only food source in the area. I think, Dennis, did you have a question?
I had a question for Claire. Regarding the canopies, Claire,
Yeah.
I believe our standard design is for the pitched roof. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're going to be looking for a pitched roof on the canopy. My only other comment is retailing at this side. This facility is located in a classic, what you could describe as a food desert. It's surrounded by convenience stores, fast food outlets, liquor stores. So the fact that you're going to be approaching the ZBA for relief, some sort of relief, I would start thinking about a fresh food component. And I don't mean a rack of lettuce and wilted fruit. I mean, I'm thinking of an area where residents of the area who are elderly, who don't have access to vehicles, can walk in and have access to fresh produce and fresh foods. And I think 7-Eleven, you said, might have a template for that. You should start thinking about that early, because I think we're going to be telling the ZBA to make sure a good portion of this interior space is devoted toward addressing that.
Mr. Finnerty, I appreciate you stating that, because I don't know if you're aware, but 7-Eleven does have a fresh produce component to their stores. They've had it for quite some time now. And they also have fresh salads and fresh sandwiches that are made daily. And it's not a question where they leave it on the shelf, until it passes its shelf life. It's replaced on a daily basis. So I appreciate your comment, but it's something that they've already incorporated into their business model these days.
Yeah, this is something that would probably, unlike the other facilities, this is probably something that's going to be mandated by the municipality. So in other words, if their marketing scheme changes, they're not going to be able to alter that. And I don't know what percentage of the stores are devoted to fresh produce, but it's good to hear that, you know. And there again, start thinking about the pitch canopy. And I also make my pitch for solar because you've got good southern exposure. Now you have two nice sloping roofs to the south, but there again, it's nothing we can mandate. But
I appreciate that. I'm taking notes. So,
Before
and just if
we-
I could just finish the last point on the traffic circle,
I
because
have
it's
a
high.
couple- I have
just-
3 questions for the traffic engineer. If you'd let us speak as well, it would be
Sure.
helpful.
Sure, absolutely.
Have you considered deceleration lanes?
Deceleration lanes to get into the driveways?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't see them, so I'm just saying you might think about
Yeah.
them, okay?
Okay.
You also will have guaranteed landscaping trucks coming into this gas station. And the landscaping trucks are the length of a truck plus the length of a trailer behind them. And the parking stalls or parking spaces are not going to be sufficient. So you need to take that into consideration. My question also is 7-Eleven a gas now? Are they branding themselves as a gas supplier? Or is this going to be?
This is not a new concept for 7-Eleven. They have many gas stations on Long Island currently and across the country.
So it's their branded, private branded gas.
That's correct.
In Manorville.
Okay. I think one of the biggest issues that we have here is the accessory to. Would this be happening without the 7-Eleven? Would you be entertaining putting in a gas station without a 7-Eleven?
No,
Would not.
no, it would be impossible.
Okay. Our code would not look at this and say this 7-Eleven was accessory to. It's a separate use. Anthony, are you there? Can you step in?
You know, look, what I would say is, you know, I don't want to get too crazy because I'm going to prepare a report that's going to identify the issues. But one of the issues that the applicant should be aware of, and they were involved with BOLA, where the planning board raised the question about the 2,000 square foot building at that time, which was reduced to 1,200 square feet. So number one, the size of the building is going to be an issue. Now, while that is a determination of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the planning board has generally been advising the zoning board through their referral comments about the size of the building. So that's going to be an issue that we're going to have a discussion about. And just one comment I want to make, the applicant doesn't have to respond to it, but the dumpster sitting on the road is also a major issue.
Claire?
Yes.
Claire? I have a
Yeah.
question. And this goes back to when I was on the ARB. We said there should be no designations of anything on the pumps themselves. Am I correct? Is that still in existence?
Yes.
They have a 7-Eleven insignia that they have to take off.
Yeah, they have a lot of signage issues. There's no signs permitted on the canopy. There's no electronic signs permitted. So on the face of it, there's some issues with the signs, which I know Anthony's aware of. So, but thanks for pointing that out.
Is this a high priority area at all for septic?
Yes.
Okay. So you're aware of that? Keith?
Yes, we are.
Okay, you are. So I think you've heard a whole bunch of questions.
Jackie, I have a comment,
Yeah.
if I may.
Lauren, yeah.
The applicant has gone on this afternoon telling us how great this convenience store is going to be for the neighborhood. People are going to be walking into this, you know, they're going to shop here. And that tells me that they're not looking at it as an accessory use to the gas station. So I'm hearing it's one thing, but they're trying to put it into our code as an accessory use. And
Yeah, if I may, Mrs. Burke.
it.
If I may, Mrs. Burke.
Yes.
So I am abundantly aware of, you know, the attempts by Riverhead and Southampton to make downtown Riverhead more walkable. I was merely pointing out that we have anticipated that in our design. And so that we have sidewalks that tie into the work that was done on the circle that Mr. Valari talked about, so that pedestrians, when they're crossing through the side of the traffic circle, have refuge points that they can go to, and then they can get onto our site without being immediately into a parking lot. That was really what I was trying to say. But in terms of the use itself, I mean, they complement one another.
Well,
Right.
you're also talking about the fact that it'll enhance downtown Riverhead. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think you've made me believe that this is a separate use, not an accessory use.
Well, I'm sorry if I led you to believe that, but I was merely pointing out how the use will fit in with the surrounding area.
Is this parcel subdividable, Anthony?
I don't believe so.
Okay, special exception. Maybe you should think about putting a full-fledged supermarket there. That would be popular. Because it is, as Dennis said, this is a food desert, this area. And what it needs is a wonderful supermarket.
You do have the farmer's market.
I was just going to say, there is a farmer's market
on Flanders Road, not that far down the road.
Yeah.
So I would submit to the board to think about the fact that 7-Eleven offers many of the things that are offered in a supermarket just at a smaller level because it's a smaller size store. So in terms of grocery items and sundry items, you know, many of them do. And then they also have, prepared food items as well as many supermarkets do these days.
You would not say, or you're not going to represent that 7-Eleven is competitive with the prices of a supermarket or a local supermarket.
No, but we like to call ourselves like a convenience market where it's a smaller scale size, you know, for people who, you know, just need a quick, you know, you're going somewhere that day, you know, and you remember that you forgot a set of forks or you forgot paper plates, you know, so you grab them and you buy them and, you know, you can walk out the door.
It's just that in an area that is a food desert, as has been represented, to represent this as a convenience or a food market for the community when it's not going to be competitive price-wise, and or it's not, that's the primary use. I'm having the same problem Member Burke is having on this.
Well, I'll just remind the board that the SCRIF.
Excuse me, sir, and I'm also having a problem understanding how this helps the downtown, but that's.
Well, that's what we're here for in a work session. You're here to hear us. We're here to hear you. So you hear some critiques. I want to ask you if you took into consideration the new medical building right across the street, right opposite your entrance and exit driveway.
Mr. Valari? Andrew, you want to tackle that?
It'll be incorporated in the study, yes.
What do you mean?
In the traffic, okay. Are there any other comments from the planning board?
No.
I have one quick question. You had mentioned the shallow water table. Do you know where the water table is in relation to the fuel tanks?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Tartaglia. Okay. So Mr. Tartaglia, he actually worked on the other gas station located in the circle that had the similar issue. Chris? Okay.
Yeah, groundwater is at about 5 feet below grade. So just like every other gas station at the circle, the tanks will be partially within water, but they're up to the task of being installed in water and surviving there. They do it in Florida every day, and groundwater is 1 to 2 feet deep in Florida, and there's plenty of gas stations there.
And what type of septic system would it be in here?
It's a conventional septic system with leaching pools, but it will be a shallow depth. So as I explained, we need a little bit of a larger horizontal footprint because the depth of water is shallow.
But you're in an IA, you're in a high priority area.
That's what I'm asking.
Right, we've already vetted this with the preliminary design with the health department for septic, and they're fine with it. So there's no septic issues here whatsoever.
Is it not a town issue?
What's that?
Anthony, doesn't the town require?
Yeah, if I have to double check, I don't have the ability to do it now, but I'm pretty sure this is the high priority area. If it is, it would have to be the new IA system, regardless of what the health department.
That's why I brought that up.
Yep, that's accurate.
Yeah,
And the
we'll
health-
double check that, Gloria.
We'll do this, we'll do
We'll
this.
double check that.
Yeah, and the health departments starting in July for any new construction will require an IA system.
Correct.
Okay, so you have a shopping list of comments from us. And
I took copious notes.
I hope you hear them all the way from solar to groundwater to traffic to
Accessory.
what it is, the accessory use, which is key. And so we'll leave it at that, Anthony. That's all that where Anthony is.
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay, so you're going to write up a report. Now, what about this pre-submission conference?
So that you're going to have the conference on the 25th. It'll be opened up to the public. You got a presentation again. We'll see if there's any comments from the public, from the CAC or any other groups. And then after that, within, I believe it's 45 days, I'll bring a report to this board. You'll get it obviously before the meeting, and we'll go through all the issues.
Okay,
Very good, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board. Really appreciate the time.
thank you
And-
very
Thank
much
you very
for
much.
coming. Yeah,
All right, take care.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we'll close out the work session and go into the afternoon session. Matthew, you're up first for completeness on number 2, Paris Project Management.
Can everybody see that? I'm just having a little bit of a connection issue. If you can see the,
Yeah, we can see it, yep.
yeah, good. All right, so this is on for completeness. It's a lot line modification in North Sea at 1005 and 1017 Noyak Road. This came about via the health department. They did a correction deed back, I believe, in the late 80s that the health department just picked up on that was never approved by the town. They just did it themselves. Unfortunately, they're missing a number of things on their map, mainly just to actually show the modification that's going through. So I'm just recommending that this is deemed incomplete.
Okay, a motion to deem it incomplete by Glorian, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Jackie Zarabi Family Trust.
Yes, how are you? If you could please let in Daphne Vaughn if she's here.
This is for completeness.
This is, Jackie, if you would be okay with it, I would like to do number 23, which is the secret for this, and then the completeness, which is number 3. If you're okay with that. And I can start sharing the screen. Charles, do you see Daphne?
Yeah, she's coming in.
Okay, great.
3, okay.
And I'll share the screen right now. Can everyone see the aerial?
Yeah, well, what's of it? Yeah, where is the?
So this red parcel here, this
Okay.
larger red parcel here, this is a subject property. It has minimal frontage on Great Hole Road, but it does have just enough. And with the planning board, we determined that, it has a yield of 2 lots. They are providing a cluster plan, which has the lots orientated where the existing development was for the previous house and accessory structures. This is a zoomed in aerial of this. Daphne, I believe these structures have been removed. Am I correct? So the planning board issued a resolution of no objection to the demolishment of the existing structures, which was a single family residence pool and some accessory storage buildings in the back. This is the proposed plan. So sorry, the topo kind of makes it hard to see on the scan, but essentially this area is all open space. The dark portion here is showing a proposed buffer, but this area here would be all proposed open space. They are using the benefits of the density incentive portion of the code, which is 330-9, to add 1 additional lot, which they are bringing it from the CR 200 zoning district and from the school district, which is a town code requirement. So it does add the yield of 1 lot. And as you can see, they're accessing this via a common driveway for 1, 2, and 3 lots. I prepared, this is the applicant's EAF, part 1.
Okay, can we ask some questions at this point?
Oh, sure.
Please? You can get 3 lots with this topography? 3 buildable lots?
Yeah, we asked them for slope analysis. So, I mean, they'll have to give us a little bit more information on the slope analysis for this. But I did walk the property. It's more hilly. It's essentially, it looks like it's flat where they had the house, but it does gently slope down, but it's nothing extreme. I did walk the property during the pre-application review.
And they're bringing in a development right?
They're bringing in a development right, yes, from the Southampton School District and the CR 200, which is required per the code.
Jackie, what is the status of the road on the left side? That
Yep.
it looks like a trail, but it's in fact a road. A landscaper is using it for a landscaping business.
Yeah, I know Daphne's had communication, so I'll let her speak to the status on that because we did speak, but not recently regarding the road, the driveway encroachment. It's my understanding though that they are working on removing that and they would basically be abandoning that road. But Daphne, do you have any updates on that?
Doug Sinsky is the attorney for the applicant on this project. He has been trying to get in touch with that owner. I think he has done some written correspondence. I have to touch base with him to see if I don't think he's received any confirmation from that owner of anything. I think this person's been utilizing this access for many years. Basically we want to close it off so that it is part of the town-owned open space and it's not disturbed. If we have to, we'll have to put our own fence in there.
Yeah, but will you be able, how long has he been using that property? Are you gonna have a claim here of license or
Absolutely.
or something for having used it for so many years?
I believe the man's name is Mr. Van Dude, and he does own one of those lots further back, and I think he's using it for storage of something. I'm not.
It's a landscaping business.
There you go.
But this is something, Daphne, that you'll have to figure out. It's not up to us. What we're looking at. Is there another
Well, more
plan
important,
here that we can look at?
Let me see if the aerial.
the aerial doesn't really show it.
Aerial doesn't show
Yeah, it's there.
anything.
You can
Aerial,
definitely see
this is the driveway right here, I think.
Yeah, but it's the aerial is the lot lines. The survey is more accurate, Jackie.
Yeah.
And
And
this
I
was
get
this surfaced 2 or 3 years ago, and I would have thought this would have been resolved. I mean, are we going that this could completely change the map, the square footage? This is proposed open space that's going to be dedicated to the town. I mean, do we have a complete application with this thing, major issue unresolved?
We were going to, I was recommending that we do secra and then deem it incomplete.
Oh, okay.
Why would we do secret?
Secret, yeah.
Because we have submission requirements and they need the secret determination to finalize the health department.
Yeah, but the question is, if that objection is going to stay to that property and that's going to end up, if he's been using that for a long time, you've got a serious issue there. And you haven't been able to get him to respond. Why are we proceeding with secret?
I think we should just deem it incomplete until the information comes in. Also, I'd like to see this corner, the access to all 3 lots off this little corner, which we can't see, off Great Mill Hill Road. I mean, there's some issues here, so.
It's, Jackie, just so you're aware, it's 39 feet of frontage with a common driveway. I can try to zoom in, but.
Of 39 feet of frontage, is that sufficient? Or they need a variance for that?
No, they don't.
They only need
Because
30 feet. Yeah.
they don't because we opted for the cluster plan for the open space benefits. So we're allowing them to each have around 10 or 12 feet of frontage. And
So
then access by one.
you're waiting for a slope analysis, which is not here. You're waiting for the determination of how they resolve this trail.
Mhm.
I would say that I don't think we should proceed with secret. I think we
We
should.
have a slope analysis. I don't know that I've submitted it, but one was definitely completed. So I can submit that to Jackie.
Well, we haven't seen it. So, I mean, I just think we're jumping the gun here. So
Okay.
I agree with Robin. I think we should deem it incomplete. Go
Okay.
back to number 3.
So
And,
no action on 23 and then just deem it incomplete.
Right, until you get some more information and some better maps. Okay, shall I have a motion to deem this incomplete by Robin?
Motion.
Second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie, again, Lillian Court, completeness.
Yes, give me one moment to pull that up. And then I don't believe, but the applicant was William Bates. I don't believe he was attending, but just in case he was able to log on.
Charles, is there a William Bates in the wing?
Does he have a motel?
I was just thinking the same thing.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for doing that, Gloria, and I really didn't want to do it.
You're welcome.
No,
Thank you.
We could all use a little laugh. Thank you.
no William Bates.
Okay, that's fine. He was aware of the issues.
So go ahead.
I'm just going to bring up the aerial. All right, can you see that? This is a zoomed out aerial. So this is a lot line modification between these 3 properties. And here's a more close, zoomed in aerial. So these 2 residential properties are essentially transferring some of their area here along their boundaries there, that shared boundary. And then in exchange, they are getting a little bit wider to the north.
Do you have a revi? There you go. Okay.
Yeah, so if you can see here, they are right now flush. They are proposing a flag strip to gain access to Lillian Court, and this person is getting an equal exchange of area with that transfer. This property owner is proposing a larger area of transfer, which would give the 310 Montauk Highway access to Lillian Court.
Well, how are they getting in before? Well, lot 2, they had no access?
They have
Existing lot configuration.
existing lot configuration on Lillian Court.
They came off Lillian Court, lot 2
Yeah.
and 3?
Yeah, these homes are existing homes coming off Lillian Court. Here. These both have driveways right here, and this one has a driveway right here.
Okay.
But it's a pre-application. We deemed it incomplete in the summer. I do now have all the information I need to deem it complete and set a schedule a public hearing for April 8th.
April 8th?
April 8th, yeah.
So
Okay.
basically, the lot 1 can get access off of Lillian Court, and they don't have to use Montauk anymore.
Correct. And then they are proposing an easement right here over this area, which we will discuss further upon the review. But I just wanted to make you aware that this does give up access easement as well, I believe.
To what?
To
lot?
Yeah, so over lot 3, they're giving an access easement over that portion to lot 1.
Are they going to further subdivide this?
Depending on how the easement is orchestrated and how we review this, it would possibly give future development and subdivision and access from Lillian Court to 310 Montauk Highway, which is.
I'm just asking you if that's their intent.
They haven't said that specifically, but I believe that is their intent.
Okay.
Are they closing off the access on Montauk Highway, or is that access?
Well, right now there's an existing house, so this is just a transfer. We can ask that. I can ask the applicant's attorney if they're proposing to physically alter the existing access at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're deeming it complete. We're setting a public hearing for April 8th. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Dennis, motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thayer's Hardware, Matthew.
Charles, can you let in Janie Fitzgerald, please?
Yes, I can.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Give you guys a brief background. Thayer's Hardware in Bridgehampton, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. They're proposing at this time to add a basement area. I believe you can see my cursor under this building. Thayer's is 2 buildings that are joined. This was their original building. This building was added in 1992. So they
see her, sorry.
It might just be Janie, Janie. I saw her in the waiting room before.
Okay.
So it's for storage purposes, the basement. They only have a crawl space now. The issue is, normally something like this might be eligible for administrative review. However, it just storage does generate parking. So that's why you're seeing it. And with the site now, they don't have room to do the additional 2 parking spaces that are required. So I want to bring it out for discussion with the board, to consider deeming this complete and doing it expedited, as not much is going to change on the site. and also discussed, payment in lieu of parking, just for the unique scenario that's going on.
Well, I mean, storage in the basement is not going to generate more parking.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the town code.
It's storage.
Yeah, it's storage. Per the code, it's 1 per 1,000, Jackie, is the parking calculation just for storage area. But, I'm in agreement that I don't think it's going to draw many more people to the site. I do
So
have,
what do we have to do? Do we have to eliminate that requirement, or what do we do?
you would, when we came down to the decision, you'd make a determination to either waive it or for payment in lieu of, so they could pay into the parking fund for the 2 spaces that are required. And like I said, I think, this is something that we should expedite. They're looking to get the work done.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change the store.
They're aware, as long as they keep everything in the back and don't act.
And I think
they're aware of that.
Yeah, the applicant's representative is here to kind of give you a better idea how they plan to do that. Just give you a brief overview if the board wants to hear from them. I do have.
Everyone, hi. I'm Janie Fitzgerald. I work with the Office of Dennis James Boyling. Dennis is here. He can kind of go through it with you. Thank you so much for inviting us here.
You were asking about the access to the working area. It would be exclusively in the back.
Okay.
We've even considered really the size of the dumpster because we'll be removing dirt from the basement. It's an existing crawl, so we have considered the size of the dumpster so it does not protrude out into the parking area, the driving area to go through the parking lot. And we considered the width and the length of the dumpster. And so something to come in, a dumpster to come in into an area that we fence off, which allows Thayers to access their buildings because it's exclusively their building area that would be impeded by a dumpster put in the wrong location. So we considered clearance of doors to open to access other storage areas and also to access his garbage area where he takes his cardboard. So we would fence the area in also just for additional safety around the dumpster. And we would be using that access only to the work area. And even the new area of the store, the newer area of the store, the furniture section, that would be closed off basement to basement between the 2 stores.
How are you going to exit that dumpster? Are you going to go through that little passageway that takes you onto, what is that? It's not Corwith. Or are you going to?
Yeah, I meeting with the Carter.
Yeah.
And to determine exactly which way to go on that.
It's pretty impossible to pull it out into 27. Yeah.
It's tight. So I think that's it. He knows, the Carter knows the area and has been out of there. So he seems to feel it's not a problem, but I will be meeting him on site.
Right. It has to be monitored, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How long do you think it'll take?
It's a combination of hand digging and some electric machinery that we use. And I consider this start to finish to be about a 70-day project.
So just double that, right?
Always. We don't want to.
And when's
Dennis,
it supposed to start? Best case.
Dennis, this is the storage is going to be in the original building or the 1992 building, just for clarification.
It's in the original building.
The original building. Okay, so it's on the eastern building. It's on this side.
Right.
Correct. So, yeah, it would all be coming out of the door that goes down into that as well.
I don't see an issue with expedited unless, but I'd like to put those conditions in,
Absolutely.
how the dumpster will exit the property, et cetera.
Yeah, and Jackie, the town engineer has seen this already, and they have issued some comments. They want to make sure that there's no damage done to the adjacent parking area that they just redone.
Right.
They'll, ask for, some kind of control measures to ensure that. I did make findings in here to waive the hearing if everyone's okay with that, and it'll be referrals probably in this case to fire marshal and the engineer's office. I don't know that it needs to go anywhere else.
Best case scenario, when would you be starting?
We have to still go before the building department, obviously. So what we might consider even is, we've been talking about it is, as this moves along, if we need to, we'll just move it out of the summer traffic there. There's a lot of traffic back there.
Oh, into late fall, yeah.
That's why I was asking you for your starting, best case scenario starting, because I was thinking of the summer.
Well, we all be here in the fall, so We're okay with it, including,
So Matthew, just make note of that, how the debris needs to be, that the debris should not be taken out onto 27.
Got it.
The dumpster's going to have to exit west.
Right.
West? Yeah.
North.
actually,
North. I walk through there all the time. Take that short
I'll
cut.
watch out for it.
I feel sorry for that poor house on the corner there. Every time I go in that back way.
Yeah,
That's Maple, is that Maple Avenue?
it's Maple.
Yeah,
Oh, is it Maple?
I think,
Well, Maple runs across, is parallel to the train station. That's Maple.
yeah.
It's Corwith, or it has some funny name. Anyway, would you, if you would
Right.
add that,
Yeah,
that's
it's further south, you're right.
All right, yeah, so I have a resolution prepared to deem it complete, set a 30-day written comment period, waive the hearing, and that'll go out. So, provided we hear back, this could be a pretty quick turnaround for the applicant, just to get this going.
I'll move it.
Who said they'd move it? Dennis. Okay. Second by Gloria, and all in favor.
All right.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Claire, the Sag Harbor Antique Fire Museum.
Yeah, the applicant submitted a revised plan, and I'll show it to you in a second. And the applicant himself, Ed Dearman, couldn't attend, so he had Dennis Downs attend, but I don't see him. I just emailed him. So if you want to just table this, unless you have some comments, do you want me to just show you the changes? And
I have one comment. 'Cause
Sure.
I think I saw it.
Okay.
I think that the entrance and exit should be closed off on Scuttle Hole Road. I think it should be totally closed.
Do you want me to show you the plan? So
Yep,
we can just
yep.
look at that real quick.
I don't think it's closed, right?
No, it's not closed. So this is the aerial, and here's what you're talking about, the Scuttle Hole
Yes,
Road.
Scuttle Hole, right.
Yeah, and then
Fire.
and then Geyer, which is right now, and if you want to see the revised plan, which shows both the site plan and the interior, this is where they're having their parking spaces. And
Could I-
then there's no proposed around here. Okay, go
Dennis?
ahead.
Can I jump in? I agree with you, Jackie, but what you're going to hear from the fire district is that on occasion, they may need to access that area for their truck turnaround and their access. So possible solution is, why don't we think about grass pavers with some sort of decorative gate or something that would look like a lawn for most of the year, but on the few times they need to get a machine or one of those big engines and they
Can open the gate,
Oh, that's a good
take down
point.
the fence rails and pull their truck in.
right?
Does that work?
Yeah,
That would work.
Yeah, that way, for most of the period, it wouldn't be used by vehicles, it would be closed
Right.
off and it would look like the grassed area.
Yeah. So maybe you can discuss that with them, Claire, that
definitely will. And so,
traffic onto Scuttle Hole is just, it's a nightmare there.
yeah.
And if we would not be doing anybody a good service to approve it like that.
Yeah, so I really wanted them here to show what changed. The chief building inspector has now said it is a museum use. We'll do more referrals, I think. And we want another public hearing, right? Because the project's changed, right?
Right.
Clear to them.
So it has been certified by the building inspector as a
And the
museum.
museum, as proposed. The occupancy here is 12 persons, and that's where you'll have the 4 parking space. But they have a display area now for their museum and of course the trucks. That
Inside.
part
How
of it.
many trucks?
4
4
or
trucks?
3 trucks, and a car. 3 trucks and a car.
And they couldn't find any other parcel for this, right?
That's what they've represented, but I would rather have them here for this. And don't worry, we're not on an action deadline. They still need a fee to be submitted, and
Okay.
so they know that. But
So
I'll
no-
have them get that out information, and they'll have them back for you.
No action. And so when do we want them back? March 25th?
Yeah, probably. But that's depending if they get the information.
Okay, if not into April.
Yeah, but I'll give them the point about the grass pavers, and I think that's.
And then we would want it closed off with some kind of nice looking gate.
Mhm. Right.
And not used at all until it was necessary to use it.
Okay, great. I will.
Okay. no
Thank you.
action. Thank
No
you.
action.
Anthony, Spion property.
Yes. See. Okay, you can see that, right?
Yep.
Good. So this is Ed Broidy's site on Spionk Riverhead Road. Every couple of years, we get something new that comes in here. This is largely actually built out at this point. So I got an application for a special exception to use one of these units, unit number 39. I don't know in which building that is because it wasn't clear from the plans that were submitted for a packaging and warehousing of spirits. I'm recommending that we deem this application incomplete. And I spoke to the applicant and I sent you guys the checklist. We're missing maps. I need more details about how this operation, how this business operates. If there's any other future plans to actually do the alcohol production in there. So there's just a whole bunch of series of questions and additional information. So at this point, I would just recommend that we deem it incomplete. And when I have enough information, I'll put it back on for a better
Okay.
discussion.
Motion to deem it incomplete. Robin, second by
Second.
Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. Okay, we're moving on to 3539 Foster. That's Claire. No, Jackie. That's an extension. Jackie Fenlon.
Yes, so they had filing issues with the county clerk's office, so they have remedied those on the map. This would be an extension so that we can acknowledge the signature and do a resignature. So this would bring them to April 26, 2021.
To April 26th. Okay, motion for an extension to April 26th by Gloria, second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Six in favor. And number 12, Foster. Matthew, that's a 90-day extension.
Yep, 90-day extension for the submission of the plans. They're very close. This is 12 Foster, the special trade contractor in Bridgehampton.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Robin, second by Gloria, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Anthony Maston is off the agenda.
Yep, number 10 is off the agenda.
Okay. Then we'll move right into 11 East Quogue Mobile Home Park. Claire,
That's also off the agenda.
off the agenda. 12, the Bridge Staff Housing and Maintenance.
Yeah, if
Continue.
Charles can have Jake Watkins in for discussion. So there was a pre-submission conference on February 11th. And the applicants, so that was closed with a 30-day written comment period. So that's still pending. But the applicant is anxious to get this project started. If you remember, this is the staff housing and the maintenance area. The staff housing was the individual units, and we had some question about whether facilities should be in the units or not. So we got a determination from the building inspector, and the applicant has responded where they shall have facilities in each unit, so that they've amended their application to include that. So I'll show you those latest plans.
I don't see him.
Oh, you don't, I think okay, just 1 second. Roger Ferris and Partners, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll show you the plans. And also, so I've just gone over the pre-submission report. They're, as I said, they're anxious to start. So they want your feedback on how to get the application together.
You sent that, Claire. Yeah.
I did, yes. So let me bring that up.
They're coming in.
Okay, great. Before I share the screen, Jake, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Jake Watkins with Roger Ferris and Partners out of Westport, Connecticut.
Okay, so I'll share the screen and I'll show you This is the report, but I'll show you the plans as amended, and this is the details where you can see each facility has the bathroom and shower facilities in each space, and this is the blow up. So that just the one question.
They're conventional toilet and showers? No. Just
yes.
Yeah, the idea is conventional.
Yeah. About the compostable toilets, I'm going to do a little bit more research and give you a fuller picture, but I think that's done in where there is not the ability to hook up into a standard system, where you may not have power, running water, those kinds of things. That's why they use the compostable systems, but I can get you some more information about that, Jackie. Okay. So yeah, this is the details. I'm just going to go over quickly and then I'll have the applicant speak. So some preliminary issues on this. It is secret, so unlisted action. The eastern parcel is, and I'll put up the aerial in a second, it has the archaeologically sensitive area. Obviously the whole site was investigated as part of DIS. If this parcel was split off, there would be no question, it wouldn't be in the archaeologically sensitive area, but whether you want to have more investigation is the question for this area. And then this is the question about the facilities, and they've modified it to the bathroom and the showers in each one. And then we could talk about the health department approval, use of IA systems, and of course, we could talk about the compostable toilets. Trails, there's an existing extensive trail, but we still do a referral to Trails Advisory Board on this application, and then typical referrals for the project. And whether you'd have a public hearing or not is the question the applicant would like to have you address.
So Jay, do you want to respond to some of those queries?
Yeah, happily. I guess first, with regard to the archaeological sensitive site, like Claire mentioned, this area is not in that specific boundary area. It's outside of it, well outside of it. Should this particular area be subdivided, it wouldn't be a condition at all. We are also, there won't be any basement. There'll be minimal site sort of intrusion. The foundation will also be minimal. We're only planning on using sonotubes for the structures that are going to be placed on top. And it also wasn't a consideration in 2009 with the original maintenance workers housing. We're still, the whole goal of this still, again, is to basically displace a number of living units that are inside the existing workers housing and putting them outside the building. In the form of these container housing units. And, we have placed individual bathrooms in each individual unit to address the concerns that have been brought forward previously. We intend to tie those bathrooms into the existing septic system for the maintenance building. We're not increasing the number of living units. The septic system is designed for 47 beds, and currently last year there were 30 beds, 30 people living in the unit. So it's oversized for the number of people. And I think tying into the existing system is really the most efficient way to proceed with this. We looked at composting options for this before, but since we do have this available septic system and it can easily be tied into, I think it's a really good option. Claire mentioned we are desperately looking to expedite this process. We have workers coming starting in April, and they'll continue to come through the first part of the summer. So we're trying to get these living units up and running as soon as possible.
Is this a high priority IA area?
It is not.
It is not.
Mm-hmm.
So they can hook in, right, to the existing septic?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Without difficulty.
Yep. So if what they're asking for, if you're amenable, is that once you adopt this report next meeting, considering no other additional comments coming through, that you waive the public hearing, give it a 30-day written comment period, and we'll do the referrals standard because there was no public comments or interest in the project, if you're amenable. Okay. I think it's an interesting design, and they're just trying to accommodate their employees, and I think they're doing it in a good job in this case.
Yeah, now that they're bathrooms.
Now that they're bathrooms.
And to just underscore always what Dennis said, if there's any opportunity for solar, believe me, we would welcome it. So, okay, any other comments?
Okay, so no action, as I said. We just want to line this up, and I want to anticipate what you wanted to do in terms of that report. So I'm going to say no to the archaeological at this point, given there's no real ground disturbance, and then limited area they're doing, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much.
No motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anthony, Old Stables at Spionk.
Yes.
7-lot subdivision.
Okay. You can see that, right?
Yep.
Good. So we've been looking at this for a long time now. This is a subdivision on North Phillips Avenue in Spionk Riverhead, Spionk Remsenburg, CR40 zoning district. This is the property here, has an existing residence and some other accessory structures. It's adjacent to, I believe this is some open space from this subdivision. And you have this development over here, and I believe there's town land over here. This subdivision, whoops, let me do this. There we go. So the subdivision involves the 25% of the open space in the back, which connect with the adjacent open space, and a 7-lot plan. This property had a 6-lot yield, was initially reviewed and processed as a density incentive subdivision with 9 lots, but unfortunately, we weren't able to process it because it didn't meet the requirements under the code. So it went back down to a standard plan, a cluster plan, 6 lots with 1 density incentive unit for a 7th lot for affordable housing. So it'll be 6 market rate and 1 affordable unit. I don't know which one of these units is affordable, but it's probably labeled on the map. The lot size is roughly around 20,000, less than 40,000, so it would be R20 setbacks. We've been looking at this a while now. We've done all the referrals. We were supposed to have a preliminary approval for this months ago, but like I said, we had to change the plan, and we had to have a new public hearing and redo SECRA. So we did all that. I resent out the referrals, and I have a preliminary approval finally for this project. So this is the resolution, all the standard information in here, a description of the project, the SECRA classification, the negative declaration that was issued in February of 2020, the dates of the pre-application report, et cetera, the public hearing dates, conformance with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act, standard plan. Let's see. The plan may require a sanitary flow in order to get health department approval. Since it's for affordable housing, the town may be able to help the applicant with that. But it does conform to the town's density standards, just not the health department. The park fee will be based.
Wait, Anthony, what is
Yep.
that thing there that applicant has indicated they will voluntarily provide a total of 3 affordable units?
That's a mistake, and I meant to tell you that. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
That was under the original plan. So it's actually 1 affordable unit and 6 market rate.
Okay, I just got excited.
Yeah, no, that was we all were excited the first time around, but thank you for picking that up. That is a mistake.
Okay.
It's Robin's Eagle legalized.
That
Reads everything.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so let me just continue. Okay, so it's a density incentive PRD plan, again, in conformance with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. We did our referrals. We have comments here from the engineer, mostly standard engineering comments. This will require a SWIP, so we'll have to prepare that for the final application. But we have a whole bunch of comments. They're not recommending engineering approval, but this is a preliminary approval, so there is no engineering approval at this time. It gets done during the final. We did the fire, town's Office of Fire Prevention. And they're asking, obviously, for the installation of fire hydrants within the subdivision road, which is pretty standard.
Connected to town water? Is there?
Yes. Yep. They'll bring a water line up the new road, but there is water in North Phillips. We got comments from the Conservation Board. We actually addressed all the comments. They acknowledged that, so that's good. Highway Superintendent had a few comments as related to drainage, and of course, that's being addressed through the engineer office as well. The Eastport Fire District, again, their recommendations regarding the water main and the installation of a fire hydrant. The Trails Advisory Board basically doesn't have any trail implications, and they're okay with the open space plan. Landmarks had no objections to the project. So basically, we just have the approval. Preliminary approvals don't have a lot of conditions. All the conditions get imposed really during the final application and the final resolution. But I did put in some conditions here. Number one, the applicant shall submit revised road and drainage plans for review by the town engineer prior to submission of the final application and deeming the final application complete. That's to address the engineering comments, which is what it says here. Compliance with the Office of Fire Prevention and the Eastport Fire District pertaining to the water main extension and the fire hydrant. The recommendations of the Highway Superintendent as it relates to drainage. The applicant shall note the open space to be dedicated to the town and the road as well. I believe the road is being dedicated to the town. There's a lawn encroachment from an adjacent property, very small, that will need to be addressed prior to signature of the final map. And a split rail fence will need to be installed to delineate the open space. All structures that are to be demolished shall be removed prior to submission of the final map. There had been some debris on the property. I noted here for it to be removed, but it actually may have been removed already, so I'll have to double check that. The map needs to note that the applicable zoning setbacks will be R20. I believe there was a map that said R15, but R15, they can't do that. It has to be R20. And the street details need to show the street tree. I'm sorry, the road and drainage plans need to show the street tree details. And that was it.
What about IA systems? Do they have to put in an IA system now? It's new construction? If so, I so.
You know, what I'll do, Jackie, is I don't know if it's in the high priority area, but if it is.
I thought they all have to be IA now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I think, Dennis, you're absolutely right. I can put that in there, Jackie. I'll add that.
It's effective July.
Right, so this is not going to be built.
Right, but I don't, how it's worded.
Yeah.
Because the county rule goes into effect July.
Right.
And then I finally learned.
Right. So Anthony, you might want to say this is just a partial list of conditions. Just
yeah, no question. I'll do that.
May I make a comment on this file?
Sure, please.
This site actually sits over the Speonk solvent plume.
Yes.
Have vapor barriers been discussed?
So the issue with that, Craig, is in order for them to proceed to the final application, they're going to have health department approval.
Okay.
Health department is usually the agency that requires the vapor barriers as part of their approval. And they usually impose covenants and restrictions as it relates to that. So we'll see what happens during the final. If it doesn't, we could always impose it as a condition as part of our final application.
I see.
Can we just make a note so we don't forget?
Yeah, we that's no problem. I could add that as well. The Conservation Board noted it as well.
What was the green buffer space? What was the amount there?
Let's see. I just got to look for you. Let's see. All right. So it's about 1.75 acres.
Okay, good. All right. I know this area fairly intimately. It's not far from where I live, and the lot, 2 lots to the north, they overcleared the property and they created a runoff issue, which was swamping the abutting community in Drew Drive. So I know there's going to be an engineer's report. I would just ask that they look at how that runoff looks fairly carefully because the runoff issue was very significant and it created an uproar in that area.
Okay,
Good point, Greg.
good.
On
Thanks,
the-
Craig.
You bet.
Anthony, on the existing structures that are being demolished, were there in-ground oil tanks or wells?
I don't know the answer to that, Robin, to be quite honest. I could find out for you.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit more sensitive in terms of the environmental. When you have these older constructions that are being torn down, we don't want them just to leave old oil tanks in the ground. Those really, not to just decommission them, they should be removed. And the question is, if they're bringing water in, is there currently wells here and do they have to be dealt with?
Gotcha. So what I'll do, Robin, is I will add that in my in the resolution where I talk about the removal of the structures. I could add a statement about verifying the existence of any oil tanks and wells, and if so, the applicant will need to properly remove such structures, you know, and such.
Yeah, I don't like to decommission those oil tanks when we're building over them because they stay in the ground and they eventually start to deteriorate. It's one thing to have that. I'd rather see them pull them out if they exist.
Okay. Yep. That's.
And to Robin's point, that these items should be an automatic checklist when we're decommissioning or taking down existing structures. 2 more I's to dot.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Thank you, Gloria.
Good. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so with those changes, we can adopt this report, Anthony?
It's a resolution, preliminary approval. Yep.
Motion by Zuccarelli, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor.
Good.
Thank you, Anthony. And you are now also Jet Cab.
Jet Cab, yep. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is a 2-lot subdivision.
Madam Chair, I'm going to be stepping out for this briefly.
Sorry, Kathleen. Okay, so this is a 2-lot subdivision, standard subdivision, 150 Head of Pond Road, CR 60 zoning district, agricultural overlay district, high priority water quality improvement zone, and the New York State archaeological sensitive area. Just by way of background, this property was, or this adjacent property here was recently the subject of a ZBA determination that this property was held single and separately from this piece. I had raised that issue prior to the completeness review, and they went to the ZBA and got a determination. So I just wanted to clear that up off the right from the get-go. Again, it's a 2-lot subdivision. Be 1 large lot up here, 1 large lot down here. They have the existing road frontage, and there would be a common. Each would be a flag strip, but there would be a common driveway serving both lots. There's currently an existing driveway that sort of comes in over this property, over the subject property, and then down over here. You can see it.
Yeah.
Here, it comes right down there. So I have that in my report as well.
Okay.
So we did our referrals. We had the hearing. So I have a report here. First page is just a description of the project. I have this grayed out because I want to put the actual ZBA date in there. So it's just a description of the project, a little history. The project.
What was the ZBA decision?
It was that an adjacent property was held single and separately. Yep.
Got it.
So, and that so it didn't have to be included in the subdivision. This is a standard plan, total of 2 lots and 4 acres. The planning board determined that a PRD was not necessary in this case, given that there's no existing open space. This will be reviewed as a minor application. It looks like everything conforms to zoning. The only thing is it doesn't meet the 1.5 times requirement for flag lots, which is a design standard, not a zoning standard. But the 1 lot, which would require then a 90,000 square foot lot area in the bulk of the lot, or the lots. One of them is 83,000 square feet, and The other is 62,000. So they are larger than what the zoning requires. They just don't meet that 1.5 times. But if you just look at the aerial again real quick, you get a sense of the lots in the area, and these would be, pretty large by some of the standards. So I think that would be consistent. Let's see here. Apologies. Okay. Actually, this project would be classified as a type 1 action because it's in the ag overlay district. So the applicant will need to submit a full EAF form, and we'll need to do a coordinated review with all agencies. The park requirement will be satisfied with the payment of a park fee, being that there's no more than 2 lots being created. There's a flat fee for that. We held a public hearing and a 30-day written comment period where there were no comments received. Project is not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. We did referrals. The town engineer came back with some standard common driveway comments and basically said everything could be addressed prior to the issuance of final approval. The town Office of Fire Prevention has come back with a recommendation to bring in, extend the water main and to install a hydrant. I hate doing this, but I'll have to go back real quick. Basically, it seems that the water main comes up to roughly where my cursor is here and had a pond. So I think what they're asking for is to bring the water up further and to install a hydrant. That's what they're asking for. So that's what the report recommends. Let's see, that's from the Office of Fire Prevention. We didn't get any comments from the actual fire district. So my report advises the applicant, to also reach out to them just to make sure, because if they have any other requirements, we want to make sure we get a consistency between the 2 agencies. The Conservation Board made some comments. We know it's in the high priority area. They're recommending a buffer along the northerly property line. They're not recommending any other buffers on that property. Health Department doesn't have a subdivision application. They did indicate that there was an approval for a single-family residence on that property, but there is no subdivision application. So the applicant's obviously going to have to submit a subdivision to the Health Department in order to proceed with final. No trail implications from the Trails Advisory Board. Highway Department, he just recommended drainage in the low spot in the common driveway, which I'm sure the town engineer looked at as well. And we didn't receive comments from the Fire District, CAC, or the Shinnecock Nation. So my recommendations for this, again, type 1 action, and the applicant will need to submit a full EAF form. And we need to do a coordinated review. Number 2, to that point, the applicant's going to need to submit an archaeological report, and they should do so and submit it with the SECRA document so we can review it all at the same time. Number 3, it's in the town's high priority water quality improvement zone, so require the new IA systems. This comment talks about the common driveway that's serving that adjacent lot. Obviously, that driveway is either going to have to be removed, and that adjacent lot's going to have its own driveway, which it can accomplish. It has its own frontage. Or I don't have any problems with this property using this common driveway, but then they would have to get that applicant or that property owner.
You can get the aerial on that because I have a question on that flag.
Sure.
I mean, that road comes right across the driveway.
Well, this is, the yellow is what you're assuming is going to be the driveway for both properties?
Yeah.
Who's going to own that strip?
What do you mean? There's going to be 2 flag lots. Basically a line right down the middle, a flag lot back here and a flag lot back here. Within those flag lots, there will be a 20-foot wide common driveway and utility easement that will get a common driveway, and that will cover the portions of those properties. So they will be owned by whoever owns these properties.
Maintenance agreement there'll
There will be a
pond.
maintenance, that's correct, a maintenance agreement, that goes with it.
Okay,
So obviously, they have to remove this driveway. They know that.
right.
And like I said, I don't, if they could get this person to join in on a common driveway, I don't have a problem with that. That would make sense. But if they can't do it, this person could certainly get a driveway over here. So.
But then you're gonna have a lot of curb cuts on that.
Yeah, no question, Robin. But I don't think this board could force this property owner to.
If I could jump in here quickly, Jet Cab is related.
Can you
to the-
identify yourself, David, please, for the
This is
record?
David Gilmartin of Farrell Fritz. I represent Jet Cab.
Mhm.
Our office is at 50 Station Road, Watermill, New York. Jet Cab is related to the owner of that property. And we
Okay.
anticipate doing a common driveway easement for all 4 lots.
Oh, this one up here as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Better
So Dave, can I note that in my report, so that way, if you do that, we could make sure that the final map is accurate.
Certainly.
So that means that you're only gonna have the one, the.
One curb cut.
Excellent,
Correct.
David, that was exactly my concern. Thank you.
That's good.
So
We have
we'll have a map and a plan showing that.
That's
Well,
great.
those 2 lots are single and separate, but certainly the common driveway, we can show that on a map.
Good.
Okay.
And then in my report, I'll get to it, but the next recommendation, I just want to keep the aerial up, is that a 25-foot wide buffer along the northerly property boundary here. Conservation Board found there's some nice trees in there. I don't know if we need it over here. And down here, it's very sparse. And the Conservation Board didn't recommend it. So that's really up to the board. We'll have that discussion.
That looks like it has, if you look at where that pool is, you see there, yeah, right where you just were, it seems like there's some old trees in that area too.
Yeah, there's some over here.
Yeah. Go ahead, George.
We would anticipate doing a significant buffer between the properties. As you look to the east, those are some pretty small lots.
Mhm.
We've been in contact with those neighbors, and they're anxious to see us put up a buffer, and we're anxious to put it up. I think we both
Excellent.
the privacy.
So the whole property will be buffered.
Yes, that will be accomplished. The one thing about the on the north side that got recommended by the Conservation Board, I think we'd like the opportunity to do some sort of evergreen there. So as long as we could leave that open to talk about, and maybe we can do a landscape plan for you and show you what we anticipate. Anthony was good enough to share the report with me earlier in the week, and I was able to discuss it with my client. And that was the only real issue that he had, that area up in the north. He'd like to be able to make that look nice. So the buffer between the properties up to the north, who I believe we've been in contact with also, so we can make something nice up there. But we can come back.
What did conservation say? Or is there some natural vegetation, native
Yeah,
vegetation?
they were talking about a buffer up here. Obviously, Dave said they have no problems doing the buffer.
I'm talking about the trees that they.
Yeah, there was just that there's, the property's largely been cleared over the years. And, there's been some revegetation of that's occurred on the northerly portion. So they're recommending a buffer of natural vegetation. To be quite honest, I don't have pictures from when I was out there a while ago, so I don't remember exactly. But we could certainly, we'll keep in the buffer requirement, and we could talk about augmenting buffers with additional plantings, when we get to.
David, I think that's a great idea. If you can get a landscape, just even a preliminary landscape plan, so you have a better idea what you're talking about.
To augment, as opposed to, some of these properties, they just clear cut all of the old native vegetation and put in a nursery stock, which is a different animal completely.
Okay, we'll put something together and we'll work that out.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. So I'll amend this buffer area now that we had this discussion with Dave. Again, there's a little driveway and fence encroachment on the west side of the property, and it should be removed. It's very minor, and that area should be revegetated. But I'll look at that again as we get closer to the final and see what it looks like out there at that time. Compliance with the town engineer, we had all their comments. The final map shall note the extension
Well,
of.
excuse me. Cannot the applicant submit some photographs to us?
Sure.
Yeah, this is something that you want to see, so they can
Yeah,
certainly take some photographs and.
That's no
submit.
problem. Yeah, we could do that.
What
Compliance
do you,
with-
I'm sorry, what are you looking for photographs of?
This area that you're talking about for revegetation, right? Anthony, you said you were there?
Yeah, I don't have a recollection of specifically was out there, so, and I don't have the pictures available. I probably have some pictures, Jackie, to be quite honest, but.
So maybe the applicant has some photographs.
Yeah, well, but, yep, well.
That would be helpful to us.
Yep. Again, this is about the water main extension and the installation of the fire hydrant, which comes from the town's Office of Fire Prevention. I note in here that we didn't get any comments from the fire district or the water authority, but the applicant may want to have discussions with these agencies and get their input before having the final maps prepared. Only because
Did they indicate how many feet they wanted extended?
it doesn't say. It just talked about the extension. The final map shall have a map that shows the building envelopes, compliance with the Office of Fire Prevention regarding property addresses, and the requirement for health department approval for the final application.
Did you make a reference to the common driveway?
Yep, that's in there.
To be used by the properties to the, is it north and south?
In north, yes, it's going to be amended to include that. Yep.
David, any other comments?
Nope.
That's it, Anthony?
That's all I have on that one.
Okay, any other comments from the planning board? Okay, so a motion to adopt the pre-app report.
Motion.
By Robin, second by Zuccarelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, Jackie, you have 2 no objection applications, right?
The first is number 15, 24, and 47 Pearson Road. And Charles, if you could please let in Kieran Pape Murphy. I think she's in the waiting room.
She's in already.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Hi, Kieran.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, and I can share the screen to show you guys the aerial and the survey. So here's the aerial. The applicant, Karen, is representing the owner who owns this residentially developed parcel here, as well as this vacant wetland parcel here. There is this existing drainage easement through the property. The intent is to give this portion of Pearson Road to the vacant property, and then to allow the additional portion of Pearson Road that abuts the subject property to the residential property. It would essentially give them a larger side yard right here, which may allow for a future expansion, small expansion of the home. And then here's the survey. So you can see this is the existing house and pool. This is the drainage area here, the vacant parcel. And so you can visualize this portion of Pearson Road will be going to the vacant wetland property. And then this will be adding to the existing property.
And it doesn't inhibit anyone else's access or egress, correct?
It does not. Nope, because it's at the terminus of this road and it basically wraps around this road, and there will still be access to the town properties on the east.
And there's also town property to the north too, so.
Oh yes, here too.
Up there, yes. And my clients really wanted to do this because they don't want, there's been dumping, people have been going down Pearson Road, and to the left, the waterfront property is unbelievable. It's all, it doesn't have Phragmites. It's an amazing piece of property. And, this way they could put up a little fence on, to keep that pristine, because it's kind of an isolated area of Flanders, but it's unbelievably beautiful. That's all I can say about, that
Is that
that
right?
this, you know, and the drainage area goes through. And, you know, it's just an amazing waterfront piece of property. And the idea is to protect it. And also the town owns to the south of it there too, which he said some, you know, people have been dumping a little bit on that and he cleans it up. But that would still be accessed. I mean, you know, that's not blocked off. It's just the area where, you know, the two property further up there. Yeah, where the end is.
Is that access to Great Peconic Bay or what is that water?
Reeves Bay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very shallow and I got to go out and, you know, it was wet, but it was incredible. So anyhow,
Okay.
that's
I think we get it. Are there any comments or questions by the board of Karen?
Jackie, I just wanted to note that I put in compliance with chapter 325 for all wetlands
Okay.
as a finding within the resolution.
Good. So I have a motion to adopt this.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by, I can't see anyone because you've made some.
Oh, I'm
By
sorry.
Robin.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Okay, thanks, Karen.
okay. Thank you. Good to see you all. Bye.
So Jackie, you also have a no objection to abandon another portion of of another road.
Yes, this is on behalf of the town. Let me just pull up the aerial. Give me one moment. And so I apologize for not getting out of the shared screen. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so this is actually a town-owned property. We are utilizing this for sending flow for some of the affordable units that the town has donated to certain development projects. So we are dealing with this as part of the Woods at Hampton Bays application, and they are currently at Health Department. There is this Franklin Road, which is included now in the parcel, Franklin Avenue, I'm sorry. And it continues up. If you remember, we had that discussion about an alternate trail route from Squires a couple weeks ago. So this is actually that road that's used as a very nice trail and is maintained very well and gives access to the further Great Red Creek area to the north. This was a portion of a subdivision. So unfortunately, Franklin is still here and was not abandoned. So we are trying to work and facilitate. This is the portion of Franklin you can see here to abandon that. It would still be town owned and preserved, but for the health department to acknowledge the full square footage and sanitary flow, we need to formally abandon that road. And this was the previous subdivision that noted it, but it was not abandoned at that time either. And that's the deed when the town, this is the deed when the town took title to it. So this would be a no objection to the abandonment of Franklin.
Any questions? Motion by Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thank you. Jackie, you're up again for a site disturbance.
Oh, yes. If you could please let in Eric. Oh, I'm forgetting his last name right now. Eric, let's see here. McKee, sorry, McKee. This is the discussion, Jackie, where he wanted to discuss with the planning board the possible off-site preservation for additional clearing on site. And let me just pull up those materials. Give me 1 second. Charles, were you able to find Eric?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you pulling up a map, Jackie? Or is it-
Yeah, sorry. I just, with those two in a row, give me 1 moment. I'm sorry for the delay. Okay, so, so Eric, I think you might be muted. And I'll share the screen for the subject property. I'm sorry, this is in black and white. But here you can see, this is the applicant's subject property here. He is currently in conformance with clearing. He's subject to 25% clearing, and he is a 92,000 square foot lot approximately. This is a zoomed in aerial where you can see the extent of the development, and he is in conformance. This is again, oh, sorry, the survey is the wrong way. But you can see here that the clearing, is appropriate, and he does not exceed the current clearing restrictions. So we have been talking and back and forth. He would like to expand the clearing, and let me just rotate this for you, sorry. So he was requesting to have 50% clearing where 25% clearing is required. This is a survey that shows the intent of the future development. He does have a development right, which is from the Long Pond Greenbelt area, and it is in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. So he wanted to review his request with the planning board. And I'll basically turn it over to Eric so he can explain his specific situation, and then let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you all for your time. Yeah, it's a pretty simple request. Clearly I'm just over the 90,000 square foot clearance bracket, so just under that 35%, or about 3% larger than that 35% clearance rate. I've been looking for a way to, have a bit more of a backyard for my kids. I have a reasonably sized plot of land, but unfortunately no backyard, as you can see by the clearance. So I'd like to, increase that. I was looking a lot for transfer development rights. Unfortunately, as far as my experience is, there are really two people that I found, the Gazas, and their prices were, impossible for me to afford. And then, Miss Dorothy Dayton has a transfer development right that is a bit larger than what I need, but would work well for my property. So I'm looking to grow a backyard for the kids and to improve the property, and that's really what it is.
Where is Day Dayton's property?
It's in the Long Pond Greenbelt.
By the turnpike.
By the turnpike. On the east side of the street. It's in the Aquifer Protection. It's already been issued. It was, an earlier development, right? Let me see if
Dennis, what were you saying?
Yeah, that I was just wondering what the development right is. Is it a separate parcel of land, or is it just?
It was previously lefted from the area of development behind her property that is currently open space, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Or conservation easement, I'm sorry, I believe.
She had a conservation easement and can sell a development.
Yeah,
right
so no development, and she had a 2-lot yield. I think she had a 3 or 4-lot yield, but elected to do the lesser yield and then preserve the sensitive portion of the property, which was a development rate issued. I can bring up.
But it's already preserved.
It's preserved, and the development rate's already lifted. But that's where it originated from.
Yeah, we did her map a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think you were involved, Jackie.
Yeah. Yep. I handled the final phases of her subdivision review. I do have the development right. If you would bear with me, I can pull it up so you could see.
Can I just ask the board what its flavor is or its appetite is on changing aquifer protection overlay clearing because someone can afford to buy a transfer, a development right? I'm just a little.
Well, first of all, the code provides for it in the waivers section. There's language that we have to make findings that it's in that it is furthers the intent of the passage. I'm a big favor of these only because something like the Long Pond Greenbelt, I know this property, it's rather than preserve fragmented pieces of vegetation interspersed between house lots, you have the ability to assemble large unfragmented tracts of open space. So, which meets a chapter of the APOD, but also enhances the wildlife corridors and the natural resource corridors that you know, that benefit from those large tracts of land.
If Jackie can pull it up, I think we'll see it. I know where her property is. She has a big
Yeah,
house.
it's on the east side of the turnpike,
Yeah.
by the old railroad. I think it's by the old Sag Harbor Railroad spur. I'm not mistaken.
Do you have it handy?
Yeah, let me see. Sorry, give me 1 second.
And we have done a number of them.
Okay, I'm not experienced in this, so
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking for the background of the board of,
Right, because in a way that's not sensible, right? You're clearing APOD here and
Yeah.
putting it there.
Yeah.
So
The development, right?
Think
Sorry,
of
I'm
it
not
more,
sure.
Robin, think of it more, Robin, as quality versus quantity. You're getting much a higher quality of open space in that area than you are between house lots, and okay, we can keep some vegetation here, you know,
Right.
when someone might clear it anyway and we'd have no recourse.
Jackie, I would want to see the Day Dayton's property.
I can try to pull it up just to show you where it was originated from. Sorry, I was over in Spionk.
And I don't understand the machinations either. So if you could better explain what she did and how it's preserved.
Sure. You know what?
Sell it.
Sure. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah.
Close.
She's right here, I believe.
Go to Sag Harbor Turnpike. She's right off the turnpike.
Right here. So see this blue? This
Yeah.
is what issued the development right certificate. And I believe she had a yield of 3 or 4 lots. So she just elected to do 2. This is her existing residence. You know, I didn't want to get too much into her specific stuff because she's, you know, it's just a development right that's already been lifted. But as you can see, this is surrounded by the town open space and is part of the greater Long Pond Green Belt, which is like to the north here, you know, that goes, oh, the beautiful trails that go up here. So that's where it's originating from. And it is the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, given that it is a large, you know, unfragmented portion of open space. I thought the development right was appropriate, but the applicant, before he went through with the purchase and, you know, agreement, he wanted to speak with the planning board and see if you guys were amenable to this. The one thing I did want the planning board to consider is, you know, he is subject to 25% clearing. The next threshold for properties that are under 90,000 square feet would be 35% clearing. So he's essentially jumping up 2, you know, levels in the, you know, the table of clearing percentages. I don't know, you know, if that matters to the board or if you know, want to.
No. Say that again. That doesn't make any sense.
again.
So a 92, so the threshold for aquifer protection is like 60 to 90,000 square feet, allows 35%, which he's basically just over that because his property is 92,000 square feet.
Okay, so he's cleared his max. Yeah.
He's cleared his max and he's at 25%. So the next threshold, if he was under 90,000, would be 35%. And then the next threshold under that, if he was more like an acre property size, is 50% clearing.
But he's not. Why is this even an issue?
No, I'm just letting you know, he's just like jumping to another threshold away from where he, you know, the next threshold. You know, he's encumbered by the 25%. He's now asking for 50%. But there's a level in between, basically, of 35% is what I'm trying to get.
So if he takes this development right, how much more can he clear? Just
He's
what?
asking for
10%?
He's asking to clear 25 more percent. He's asking to clear 50% of his property. So I just wanted to make sure the planning board was clear on the thresholds.
I'm not clear. Is that apples to apples with this development right or not?
It's apples to apples. I just, you know, you're skipping essentially 2 thresholds of percentage categories.
What does okay, I'm as confused as the chair is.
Here, let me pull up the code very quickly.
Yeah, show them the chart, Jackie.
Yeah, I was going to show them the chart. Sorry, let me bring it up.
Right now, he's cleared how much?
A little less than 25%.
Which is what he's allowed.
Which is what he's allowed. Yeah.
How
The
does it
square-
give him square footage or what does it?
Yeah, it gives him the ability, so he's preserving the property, and depending on how much he preserves, he gets more square footage of clearing. He is requesting at this point 50% clearing.
And does his development right give him the right to 50% clearing?
This one would, yes, and it even is in excess of it.
More than it.
They're more.
Yeah. Yeah, he can clear more than the 50%.
Jackie, I'm still confused about how this development right exists. You said it with the Miss Dayton reserved land.
Yeah.
And how is that? So was that how is that preserved?
That was through the conservation easement.
She subdivided her land.
Okay.
She took a reduction in yield, so she didn't do as many lots as she was entitled to. And then with the conservation easement preserved in perpetuity, she lifted these development
the
rights.
rights off.
formally.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, she still owns the property, or she just owns the development rights that would just take it
She
from
owns the development rights. The conservation easement is to the benefit of the town. So it can never be developed, but she has those credits. And now the proposal would be she would sell the credits to this applicant. The applicant would then turn them over to the town.
So her quid pro quo is she didn't develop some property, but she got something of value that she could then sell.
Correct. She took a lesser yield subdivision, and then she, for perpetuity, put a conservation easement for no development essentially near the pond.
Thank you.
I can show you her aerial again.
Right. So she has a development right to sell.
Yeah.
And Mr. McKee has purchased it.
Correct. And then I brought up the code, which this is what I was trying to convey to you. I'm sorry if I didn't get it clearly. But so what's happening is this is the threshold. He's technically in this threshold, which is 25% clearing. The next threshold, which I just wanted you guys to be aware of, is this smaller properties, but you get a more clearing of that property, the 35%. He is essentially asking to go up one more threshold to this size property threshold to get 50% clearing. I just wanted you to be aware of that and make sure that the board found that appropriate for his request before he moves forward with a formal application.
It's really going down a threshold, but raising the clearing.
Yeah, sorry.
And so does that development right, it says, you said that already, that it covers the plus some.
It does, yes, correct.
So until the APOD code is reformed and maybe this portion of it removed or modified, he has a right to do this because it's in the APOD code.
He does,
Is that what you said, Dennis?
Well, the code isn't specific. I think you have to go if you go into the code, it's a waivers provision. It allows us to make modifications to the existing clearing restrictions, provided the intent of the chapter is met. And we have in the past done a number of these where we've sterilized some pieces away in the interior of the Pine Barrens, the Eastern Pine Barrens.
I remember too.
Yard expansion. You know, so forth. A couple of them were involved with Gaza, I remember.
Probably.
But during that period, now subsequent to that, there's more of a formalized mechanism where development rights are created and lifted. That didn't exist, 10 years ago when we first, started doing this. But
Yes,
as I say, for me, it comes down to quality versus quantity, because a lot of these yard expansions and so forth are in developed areas where the clearing is not as productive as if it were being a large forested tract where you'd have interior birds and wildlife corridors and things like that. So
this is the originating, the mother parcel, we sometimes call it, and then I can show you so you just see it in color, the applicant's property.
So the mechanism is there, but it's really a policy decision on a case-by-case basis for this
Correct.
board to make.
Correct.
To whether or not you're comfortable doing it.
See the site, it's surrounded by development. I know the area well. There's power lines behind it. It's surrounded by home sites. There's no, you don't have a large tract of open space, wildlife area that, that would serve the need. It's just a yard expansion.
What's the property behind him?
That,
I believe it's privately owned, residentially improved.
yeah.
757 Edge of Woods, owned by Edward Beaton. I do have the public lands loaded, Jackie. So that's the green town, and this is Suffolk County, and this is town right here.
But that's the green strip, I believe, is the power lines. If I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
that is correct. Yeah. And then this is a
So
Suffolk County facility.
so in the scheme of things, we're looking at quality. If we were to say, sorry, no, you can't, then we still make Day Dayton's development right vulnerable to, well, she just doesn't sell it, right?
It's still preserved forever, but
But the whole, you've got to remember one thing: if you don't make create a marketplace and a mechanism for the transfer of these rights, they're not going to happen.
Yeah.
People are going to say, "Well, I'll just keep my development. I'll do a house lot there."
Right. It's that there's no incentive.
There's
She
no
wouldn't she couldn't build on that property anyway because it's right
Well,
near.
now it is sterilized, but
Yeah.
the
But
overall
and also, in the end, she couldn't build there because she wouldn't have the setback from the wetlands. There's
yeah,
that
she
big
could.
pond there.
It should be clustered, but she had a yield there. I think she had a 3-lot.
Three-lot
yield.
yield.
I think she had 3, so she reduced her yield
She
and
reduced
then
her
also
yield.
preserved the area around the pond.
So now,
the screenshot we're seeing right now, it looks like there's some overclearing across the property line.
No, you can't go by those property. They're not accurate.
Yeah.
You can go by the survey.
Yeah, unfortunately, no aerial can ever be perfectly over each individual property. So this is the correct clearing line here.
Thank
so does it change? So what are we doing? How does it now come up? What is the mechanism now in title?
So now he would submit a formal site disturbance application, which is a higher fee. Right now, he did a work session for a discussion with the board to see if you guys were receptive. The formal application would be a site disturbance application where we would entertain basically allowing him to proceed with the survey shown here, which allows him to get 46,300 square feet, where normally he would be allowed to have the 23,156.
And it would be formalized by the recording of a covenant. So a future landowner would be bound by that. They couldn't go beyond 50%.
Does that tennis court exist right now? I'm sorry, I can't read.
No, it doesn't. So this is the existing circumstances. This is his proposed survey.
He wants to put a tennis court in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this would be open lawn.
Okay, so he has to show us, right? Or is this the best that we get?
Well, I mean, this is what he's shown you. Normally it's shown on a survey. Exactly. And they have provided the calculation. So it turns into a math equation, essentially. The mother parcel is entitled to this much clearing. I've checked the math. That development right exceeds the amount of clearing that he's proposed for the 50%.
So this isn't for backyard for the children to play. This is to put in a tennis court. Is that correct?
It's for both. I mean, originally I was looking for basically what's available for transfer development rights, and there's not that much out there. And this is the one that I found, and it was big. And my property is only 3% smaller than the 35% clearance. So for me to pay a substantial,
I'm just trying to understand the way that it was presented originally was to give you more backyard for your children to play, and now I'm just seeing the tennis court. That's all. I'm just trying to qualify that this really is to put the tennis court in.
No, it's to grow a backyard, but since what the transfer development right that I found that was affordable to me was more than I needed. So the plan is to, well, if this is what I have, then this was something I would like to do sometime in the future. And so I just wanted to be honest with you that if I do get this right, this is what I wouldn't want to say, I'm going to do this, and then I show up with something else later. I'm just being honest with you. If I have this ability and I have money sometime in the future, this is what I like to present. I just want to be honest with you what might happen to the property in the future.
It's always more productive in your site disturbance plan to take out the tennis court, since we're not, it sort of confuses that we're granting a tennis court. You're just going to show a cleared area. The tennis court is just administrative. You go file a building permit at some point in the future and then put it in. It's not like we're giving you permission or to put a tennis court in.
Right. I just wanted to be honest with you, what might happen with the property in the future if I'm allowed to do this.
It's going to be more productive, I think, to take the tennis court out of the site disturbance plan. You might not meet setbacks. You might have to orient it differently. It's just cleaner if you take it out, you know.
Do you understand what we're saying?
Yes, you would like me to do this or present this without the potential pool house and potential court.
Right.
So I don't create a
confusion. Then you can get obviously you can get the tennis court. You have the clearing. You don't have to come back to this board. You just go to the building department, file a permit, and you're good to go.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to be honest. Everybody knew sort of what I was looking to do. I have 25% clearance. I have a reasonably sized property, but I have no backyard. So I was looking for transfer on the right.
I think we get it. I think we get it. It's just a question of, we've been really looking at these APOD overclearing applications, and we're trying to hold tight on APOD because that's so critical to us. We're over our groundwater. So I do understand in this particular instance, the development right on Day Dayton's property, which is very particular. So if we can, the logic that's crazy here is that it's already preserved.
But Jackie, I just want to explain, it could be used someplace else.
Yes.
To do the same thing, go clear and put a house on there. So you're then taking out the house equation because you're using it for clearing. So you are taking that credit away, which could be landed somewhere else in the town. So it is preserving at the end of the day.
Right.
Potentially reducing density.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the thing. But Jackie, when she reviews it, is going to clearly spell it out, outline the section, the code. But generally speaking, I think you're in favor of it, right? So he can proceed.
On a case-by-case basis, yeah.
Yes,
and that's what the code directs us to do. That's why the code is very vague. When you look at the waiver provisions in the APODs at the very end, it says we have to make findings that it's in, that it's keeping with the intent. I think that's the word they use, the intent of the chapter and the goals of the chapter.
Right.
It gives us flexibility.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's no action on this. This was a discussion, and it was a good one.
Yep.
And
we'll wait your application.
Yeah, wherever you are this. Oh, you're up here now. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Matthew, you have a re-veg plan.
A little bit more simple.
Yeah, you're the re-veg king.
Specialist in re-veg.
That I love. 2 Old Squires in Hampton Bays. This is off Squiretown Road, small property we're looking at here, 12,293 square feet. So he's pretty limited on what he can do there. 75% clearing. He is over cleared. This was captured by the building department and plan review. We did get a plan that went through some changes. You can see here, this is the survey. These are the areas. There's actually some existing vegetation in the front, which they're going to supplement, make it a little bit better. And they're going to do the side. And I know it looks like only a little corner in the back, but there is a huge portion of open space here. I believe this is owned by the town, so it's going to abut some natural vegetation. This is their plan, and typical conditions. They're overcleared by about 1,500 square feet, and I think they're doing about 1,800 square feet of re-veg for this little guy in Hampton Bays. And we have our new conditions on there, just to show the limit of clearing, so the building department can verify it before they do any work. They have a year to do it with one extension, and then we'll need those surveys for an inspection after it's implemented.
Okay. Any questions on this? Motion by Dennis, second by Zuccarelli. All in favor? Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Now we have the town. There you are, Michelangelo. The town board referral on the moratorium.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So yes, we're doing a town board referral for the extension of the moratorium in Shinnecock Hills. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, 1 second, please. So here are our moratorium areas, A and B. In September of 2020, as you're probably all aware, we imposed a moratorium regarding archaeological areas of significance for the Shinnecock people. And since then, we have been working with an archaeologist named Joanne McLean to come up with recommendations on how we can pursue future development in these areas. So we're now extending this moratorium in efforts to develop more information and allow Joanne McLean to provide those recommendations. So I'm here today to see if you have any recommendations how we can perhaps pursue and some action items that may stand out that the planning board, excuse me, the town board has identified.
But you're just looking for a 3-month extension on this, right? That's the action.
Correct. Mm-hmm. But if you do have recommendations, generally we're open to listening to them now. But otherwise, yes, it's just in efforts of the 3-month extension.
Can I ask where the number 3 months came in? What was the basis for that versus 6 months or?
I think that was the amount of time calculated that we require with regards to consulting the archaeologist.
I also believe it's the least amount of time they think is necessary to accomplish the study that they need.
I'm just wondering if is it enough time that, or are we going to be coming back again for more time? Because it should be done correctly.
Yeah, the moratoriums are so often underestimated in terms of how long they take. Every moratorium I've seen, it's coming back for an extension.
That's why I'm asking about 3 months.
So, maybe we should make a recommendation that they should do it for 6 months.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, how does the rest of the board feel?
I think the intent, moratoriums are very tricky. The intent of municipalities is to keep them as tight as possible.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they become subject to takings or so forth. So that they're probably proceeding cautiously. They might even be under the advice of council.
Well, that's why I'm asking how the number 3, the 3 month.
Yeah, they might be back with us. You're right, Robin. They may be coming back to us for another 3 months, but they'd rather do a 6 month block. They'd rather do 2 separate 3 months blocks.
Right.
I'm just guessing. I don't know.
How long has it been now, Michelangelo? Has it been 6 months that they've been?
Well, I'd have to refer to Kathleen.
Okay, well, whatever it is, I think, are we in agreement that a 3-month extension is okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So motion?
Motion.
By Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mike, can you just take down the map?
Yes, of course.
Thanks.
So Claire, you've got Homeland Towers Watermill. It's a,
I
no,
think
wait a
there's
minute.
a-
No, I'm on the wrong page. Hang on.
CBA referral? For
Yeah,
Jeff?
CBA referral, Jackie Fenlon.
Hi, how are you? So we looked at this at the pre-application stage. Let me share the screen. So this is just the basic resolution, and then this is the aerial. So this was the Robin and David Santora subdivision. So they're the owners of the subject property. They are proposing a flag lot with access along the north where the existing driveway is, and then one additional lot, which looks like this on the subdivision map. So this is the driveway area. So they do need a lot with variance where 120 feet is required. They're requesting 111 for that front lot. Where the existing home is. And our report was just adopted on May 28th, 2020, and we noted the lot line modification. The subdivision would require a lot width variance, which is noted right here. So I have a resolution to have our report serve as the ZBA report.
Okay. Any questions or additions? If not, a motion to accept the referral by Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Now it's Claire, the wireless tower cemetery, the visual analysis.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, you deemed this incomplete. We needed some additional information. At the time, we received a visual analysis, which I think needs to be supplemented prior to any decision you make for secra purposes. The applicant's representative actually needs to be let in, Bailey Larkin. I think I saw her, Charles, if you could. So my suggestion is that we go through the visual analysis a little bit and see if you have any comments about any additional points or views you'd want to see while considering the application and its visual impact. We were also awaiting the archaeological assessment, which we just received today. So I'm going to take a look at that and see if it's sufficient too. So we'll hold that issue off for now. But when Bailey's in, you want to introduce yourself, Bailey?
Or Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed offices at 1 million in Southampton.
Okay. So if the boards are willing, should I show you the plan first, just so you get a handle on that? So this is the aerial. This is the Bowie 1 in West Hampton, and then this is that car dealership across the streets. And so this is what's known as the West Hampton Cemetery property, and their proposal is to put it in this corner. This is a town of Southampton open space parcel on the property. So this is your pre-submission report. Sorry, it's backwards, but in it you had an issue with the visual. You wanted a full visual assessments with it, and you also recommended possibly having an expert in environmental review the application during the process. So this is the site plan. This is the proposed road, which would be typical for a cemetery road, and it is proposed in that that corner of the property, which is generally northeast. And this is the elevation, which I think it's a 125 concealment pole. That's one of the options.
That was one of my comments that I would like to be taken into consideration. Since we allow 2 10-foot extensions, this pole should start at 100 feet.
Pole should be 100 feet. Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, you're assessing something that allows the additional
another 20 feet on top, right?
Right. Exactly. So we'll take a look at that.
Claire, can I ask a question? Is this where the old, there was an old hotel, a motel there in that location?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the entire property was the Bailey's property. If I go back a little bit, you really can't see it. This entire thing was Bailey's, including this parcel. So this was subdivided off and sold or somehow granted to the cemetery for their use, because the cemetery that's existing, if you're probably familiar with it, and I went through it the other day, is full. It's just there's no more room, and they had anticipated that, so they asked for additional space. So that was part of that deal. I'm not quite sure how it happened, whether the owner sold that portion off and then the town bought the rest, or if it was the town was a party to that. I'm not quite sure.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, this is town of Southampton open space, CPF, 28 acres. And as far as I know, there's no trail shown on it, but it's a nice piece of, open space, and someday we may have actively, improve it.
What's the fall zone on this, Claire?
The fall zone would have to be
100-foot tower, so it has to be, 300 feet, right?
It's 125 for the fall zone for setbacks for property lines, as designed now. For the house, it would have to be 375. Yes, and so that's 391. They're showing the closest house at 391.
And we'll recalculate everything on 100 foot. So.
Well,
I guess
that's an option. Yeah. I mean, they can come back with an option of the 100 foot because, as you say, they're entitled to the 2 extensions. So they either do that or they propose it and show the setbacks showing with the extensions. That is the option, obviously, in how you review that. But your feedback right now is show it as 100 feet.
And Claire, if I understand this correctly, since the pole is going to be at the corner of the property, the fall zone is on the town-owned land.
Yep.
Or on somebody's grave.
Well, the fall zone would be on someone's grave in this area here. If you see my cursor, I hope. Yes, it either is on the town open space parcel, which will not be developed, obviously, but it is a town-owned open space for the enjoyment of the town, for open space purposes, whether it's trails or other purposes. This may be developed as a community park. Yes, and that's also thing. So the views from this are kind of, that's the other point I was going to make, and we can talk to Bailey about this. They've shown some views like from down here and up here, and you can't see it, but this is town open space. Somebody could be standing here and looking at it, and that affects your enjoyment of a parcel that was for purposes of for the town or the people of the town of Southampton to enjoy. So
Have they submitted alternative sites?
I'm not quite sure if they have said in their application, and I'm going to have Bailey speak to this. And there is a lot of information in the application, which I've forwarded pieces because there's a lot of information, but I will continue to forward anything you need. They have said they've investigated a lot of sites, including the old cemetery, which I said has no room currently. So, but these are all questions you have as you assess the application, and questions you might have during the secret process. So I just wanted to give you an overview of that before we looked at the visual. Do you want to look at the visual? Or do you want Bailey to address the alternative sites?
Well, briefly, I know we were talking about the fall zone of the tower and how, potentially would fall within those. My computer screen just blinked when you took it off. To the cemetery property and potentially into open space. But what we can submit and what we have in other applications where this board has considered a reduced setback to a property line is an engineer's analysis confirming that, God forbid there were any sort of catastrophic failure on the part of the tower, the site would be designed so that the pole would completely fall within the property itself. So it wouldn't be an issue of falling onto the town open space parcel. But it's something we can have our engineers prepare a letter and confirm, and it would be obviously a condition of any approval that it would be engineered to comply with that requirement. And I know the town has looked at a reduced setback on the wireless towers application that was approved in Hampton Bays on Mr. Tortorella's property, which was about 35 feet off the property line to the east. And there was a reduced setback to the north, but I can't think of off the top of my head what it was. And also on the Elite Towers site in Bridgehampton, where there was a reduced setback of approximately 38 feet on that site as well. So we can definitely provide that. This area in West Hampton has been studied for years by many carriers to look for a site. The reason why the site was proposed at 125 is actually because there are two carriers that are already proposed on the tower. It would be Verizon and T-Mobile, who would be installing antennas within it. And T-Mobile is actually, I believe, taking up two 10-foot sections of the pole. So at this point in time, with a height at 125, the lower carriers' antennas are actually at that, essentially lower than that 100-foot height that you're talking about. So when we submitted our analysis, we included in it an analysis of what the coverage would be if the heights of the antennas were reduced in height. So there is a significant drop in coverage when the carrier sites get down to the 70-foot mark, which is where they would be if the overall height of the tower was reduced down to 100 feet. With respect to alternatives in the area, I believe it's the Seabreeze Motel was considered at one point, which is a fairly open parcel on Montauk Highway. Bowie One expressed interest in having a site in their property. And I believe there are 2 or 3 other parcels on the south side, but I would have to we can actually submit an additional affidavit explaining all of that to you as well. The town in its staff report asked that we looked into locating it on a LIPA pole, which already has T-Mobile's antennas on it. So they are there, but the site is in excess of a mile from the site, and Verizon said it was not sufficient. So our report that we submitted with the board included a RF affidavit, which discusses why that site won't work for Verizon in this instance. And there aren't any other towers in the immediate area that would be capable of accommodating them at this point. The visual analysis that we did submit, I believe has 12 vantage points from which photographs were taken. Because the site is right now completely vegetated, it was completed using a drone. We did try to take vantage points from any public roadway in the surrounding area, and any site that was visible in those 12 sites was analyzed by our expert there, and a rendering was created for you. So if Claire had additional viewpoints, obviously I can ask my client if they'd be willing to go back out and see if they could study those additional viewpoints for you to supplement. But if you just let me know where they're willing to work with you, because there's not really, to be honest, another alternative in the site in the surrounding area that's as, I mean, it's a fairly open stretch of Montauk Highway. We're trying on this particular property to locate it as far back from the Montauk Highway corridor and reduce visibility in that instance. It's pushed back in that corner of the property to try and reduce visibility from the residences in the surrounding area as much as possible. The town open space parcel, while it is open space for the betterment of the community, also does serve as a buffer from residential parcels in the surrounding area, as a visual buffer for this site as well. So obviously I would take anything back to my client. We're willing to give you whatever additional information you need if you provide us with any guidance on that.
It's pretty close to the airport too, right? It's any danger with, interfering with aircraft?
They will have to get an FAA determination, and I'll confirm with them. They may already have a determination to that effect. And the determination will state that it will have no impact on any sort of air navigation area.
Thanks.
In terms of the fall zone, you've indicated that it could be engineered not to fall on the adjacent town property, but if it falls on the cemetery and that's now being used to bury people, there will be people there. So how does that work in the code?
It's not active yet, I don't think. It's not an active cemetery yet, but it is a good point.
Yeah.
We did try and locate it also in obviously that corner of the parcel increases your distance off of Montauk Highway and from residences, but it also will make the facility kind of independent from where the cemetery use will be around that roadway. It kind of limits the impact this facility will have on the use of the property by the West Hampton Cemetery in developing that cemetery itself.
You did submit a list of alternative sites, correct, Claire? We have that?
I thought there was a list, am I mistaken, Bailey, of
It was
sites that
included
you've
in our
investigated?
analysis, but I can give you a more complete map and list if that's helpful.
Because that's part of the code.
Sure.
To submit alternative sites, locations, and also an overall map where the next closest coverage is. Where is the next closest coverage?
Actually, for T-Mobile, it's the site that the town identified, which is a utility pole. And I believe it's a water tank, but we did include in our analysis, and I did submit with you, a map for both Verizon and for T-Mobile with all of their sites in the surrounding area.
Good.
Okay. Okay, so Claire, you'll.
Yeah, I just want to go over the visual. I just want to go over the visual with you and see, I have a couple of viewpoints and see if you agree and whether you recommend any additional. So I just want to go over that with you. If I share the screen, I'll share. This is the visual report, which I'm going to send to you. I just got it electronically, so I'm going to send it to you after the meeting, so you have it. They used a drone. These are the viewpoints they have. These are the public roads. This is that's the site with the orange, and I'll try to zoom in slightly so you can have a little bit better viewpoint there. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the site. They took it from, you can see viewpoint 1 to, I guess they did put a site in the middle there. So not visible from viewpoint 1, which is here on this road. I think it's maybe you could probably get a viewpoint that was more visible. There's a lot of clearing in this area, so I would recommend something like that. 2, I just have a question with 2. Maybe she could have it cleared up. This is viewpoint 1. You can see it's just behind the trees, but there's some clearing if you go south. 2, this is the one view before the drone, and this is the drone there before they put in the cell tower. But you can see something happened. It zoomed out, right?
Well, it was, the first image was only zoomed in so you could see the drone. If you have the actual image, which is the second image, I would be circling something.
But you can see that it's taken from that, the intersection is both. This is an island. So this is actually the intersection. You know, this is the public road in the area. This is open space. I mean, this is how wide the road is. So this is the other part of the road. So you could definitely take it from this point. This would be still the public road. So I think that would be more clear that you're standing here and you're looking at the tower. So very similar to, you know, this, which is the straight on look from Montauk Highway. And then you can see it's zoomed back, but it's off the road. You know, you're on the east side of the road. But if you were off the north side of the road, you'd be looking straight up at that. So, so that's just the 2 viewpoints. That's accurate enough. The board can see that. That I don't have a problem with. Just going back to the map. And I can mark this up for you, Bailey, so it's clear in the board, so we all on the same page. But this is that, see, viewpoint 3, I guess, oh, I'm sorry. This is the site. Is that correct, Bailey? That's the site.
Tower location.
Yeah, that's the site. I'm sorry. I thought it was that. So that's the site. This viewpoint is necessary because this viewpoint 12 is just down a hill. So you're not going to be able to see it. But this is, you know, from Montauk Highway as you're approaching from that direction. This is obviously Montauk Highway as you're approaching this direction if you're seeing the site. So I think that's valid to have something.
Did they do a view from buoy 1?
A view from buoy 1 is that second viewpoint 2 is just off that property onto the right of way. Buoy 1 itself is not a public right of way or a public park or anything like that where, you know,
but they have a parking lot with hundreds of cars.
They do, but this is virtually, you're getting the same picture because you're right off that property line of buoy 1. So, but having a view from here was going to get another point of view. And it's very close to the buoy 1 point of view, but from this road looking at the site. So those are my viewpoints. I think this is all accurate. This looks fine. And I would just recommend something from the interior of the town property, which is a public property that anybody can go and enjoy. So I would recommend something in this area, maybe where the clearing is, if you're looking back at this property. So that way you have the whole thing surrounded. I'm not quite sure how the board feels or if the applicant has questions.
I think we need another viewpoint. I agree with you, Claire. You've done enough of these to know where they need to be shot from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just getting a surrounding picture, you know, of the property so you can make an informed decision.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And the board members have any more questions?
Just height, the list of the alternatives, and go from there. Any other So there's no action on this. It's just
There's
discussion.
not, we're still looking at it for completeness. As I said, she just submitted the information, so we'll consider that. And then,
We also received engineering comments that we're addressing as well. So
yeah, that would be great.
we're revising our site plan to address those.
That'd be great. And then once she gets the additional information in, the next step would be SECRA project. Okay,
Right.
no action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony?
Yes.
You have a secret coordination.
Yes, just real quick. This is the ZBA application, 2-lot subdivision on this property, has 2 existing single-family residences, but doing the subdivision creates a nonconformity in terms of lot size. It's a type 1 action. Otherwise, this would be a type 2 action. So they had to do a coordination. I initially said in an email to the board, that you could just take lead agency and that we'll do the SECRA in April because they're back on the agenda for the ZBA in May. But it turns out they're back on the ZBA agenda on an action deadline next week. So what I'm going to suggest is, since this is a very simple matter, let the ZBA do the SECRA determination. I'll do these SECRA documents and we'll take care of it at the ZBA at the next meeting, is what I would recommend.
Any comments on that? Any issue? We don't need to act on this, do we?
Just to relinquish the lead agency to the ZBA.
How does everybody feel about that? I never like it, but I understand this.
Something like
Trust Anthony, he'll do a good job.
Yeah. Then it moved by Dennis, second by someone. I need
I'll
a
second.
second by Craig, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor.
Jackie, just real quick, because I have to Zoom for the public hearing tonight at home. So can I just do number 26, an acknowledged signature of CTUC 5?
Has that been acknowledged? Oh, do
Oh,
I
that-
have it? I have it.
Yes, you got it. Yep.
Yeah, so I acknowledge it. Yeah, that's acknowledged. Number 26, Setauket 5, his signature is acknowledged.
Good. Thanks, everybody. See you shortly.
See you later.
You want to just do all the signatures and get them out of the way?
Why not?
Okay, so Homeland Towers is off the agenda, so.
Okay. North Sea General Store, that was signed.
Jackie, and then with your permission, we'd like to use your stamp for this, in a little bit of our situation.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
And I signed 3539 today. 3539 Foster Avenue.
Great.
Hey, Claire and Jackie, would you mind? I just have one walk-on because the sign fell down for the public hearing that was supposed to be tonight for M4 lumber. Do you mind if I do a walk-on just to reschedule that hearing?
Now.
Yeah, would that be okay with you?
Sure, quickly, yeah.
Sure, it's just a walk-on to reschedule from tonight to April 8th, 2021.
So rescheduling M4.
M4 Lumber Holdings. It was the
Lumber Holdings.
Yes.
To April
8th.
So tonight it is off the agenda because of what?
Posting error. The sign blew down over the weekend.
Posting error. Okay, we'll say that. So we only have one tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
So I just need a motion on that if you're comfortable.
Motion by who said that? Robin, second by Valorian. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstention, 6 in favor. Okay.
Charles, if you could let all those people in.
All of those people.
That mob scene, right?
Thanks, Ray.
Rabble rousers.
But it looks like the rest of the people in the reading room.
I just wanted to ask Kathleen, by the way. Kathleen?
Yes.
I noticed that in the documents that we get from the town board that there is an amendment to one of the town documents for the airport.
Yes, that's correct, Madam Chair. There's a notice of public hearing. You should get the referral on that at your next meeting to amend Town Code Chapter 330-5 to add definitions for both non-aviation as well as wholesale distribution. Is that correct, Claire? The second one? Did I get withdrawn? Distribution industry, I believe, is the second one.
Right.
And you'll get that you should see that referral at your next meeting.
Right, so that there's no aviation.
Correct. So the PDD as it exists now speaks throughout it to non-aviation. However, your zoning code doesn't define non-aviation, so the town board thought it'd be a good idea to define that.
Okay, so I just wanted the board to know.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Kathleen. It's a little unusual in this case, the applicant does not own the property. How do we handle the recording of legal instruments, covenants and so forth that may come up? How is that going to work?
That's a good question. I'd like to talk more with Guy Germano about that. I would prefer, right now, of course, the applicant has conceded to recording the CNRs, but I would like them also to be recorded against the county, for the county to be a declarant on that document. But I haven't yet spoken to Guy about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. We have the authority under our master ground lease to do that, and the county will sign those kinds of covenants in connection with the development.
Great. So we can have the county as a signatory on that, Guy?
I think they'll consent to it. Yeah. However we can work it out.
Okay, thank you.
Good point. Don't let me forget about the flying point to board members. I have to add that on after this.
Flying point.
Yeah, the flying point. So, but we'll go to the Hampton Business District. Maybe we start with Ray as to follow up from the last meeting, which I did watch, and it was very productive. I thought it was good discussion. There was a question about the pickup, which was kind of a new idea. And I understand it was a confusion on the part of the Amazon that it never was there going to be a pickup component with this project. So that's why it wasn't included in the traffic analysis. And that's why the applicant has then since responded and say it's not going to be part of the application. And we could have we'll have a condition related to that make sure it's prohibited.
Okay.
So that's that. But otherwise, maybe I'll have Ray discuss where we're at, which I think we tied everything up. Maybe have some conditions related to, or some review related to where the EV is on the site, and have that designated correctly on the property. Vehicles, electric vehicles. If you can speak, Ray.
Great. Welcome, Ray. Good to see you. You're muted. Okay.
I'm unmuted now.
You're unmuted.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we were down to discussing 6 conditions of approval. And as Claire mentioned, the fact that customers are not coming to the store. I guess there was a letter that was sent in, or documentation that will not happen. So there will be no customer pickup of packages. There will be no customer package at the parking at the store or the facility. So that basically addresses all of the traffic comments. If you recall, we had talked about them doing a future traffic study after full occupancy and full operation of the site. We talked about having it fully operational or at steady state operation for a year, and having that assessment done in both the summer and the fall. BOCES had expressed some concern, or you guys had asked for some input from BOCES or some concerns about access to BOCES.
Yes.
I think if you recall at the last meeting, I mentioned that I had spoken to them. Atlantic Traffic also did. I had asked them if they could have all of the exiting traffic come out at the traffic signal that exists on County Road 31. They said that operationally, that's very difficult. It would probably overload that access point when all the buses try to leave essentially at one time. There are special needs students who have to load onto the buses, and it takes a little longer for them to do that. So for all those reasons, I think the future traffic study will make an assessment of that. That'll be one of the items that'll be incorporated in the future traffic study. And at that point, I think this can be done later. You can develop a more detailed scope of work for that study to be done. So I think the traffic comments are all covered. The only thing that came up last time was mention of an electric vehicle charging stations in the parking lot, which I believe was for the vans that are parked overnight. So we had no information on that. So I guess we're looking to Bowler to talk about that today.
Okay.
Someone from Bowler speaking to that, Eric?
I mean, programmatically, the site's set up for the electric charging vehicles. That's not something we're representing at this time. We have that staging area, if you recall, on the west side of the site, and the van parking area on the west side of the the north side of the building, I'm sorry, would afford that opportunity. Again, this is a large site. The van traffic is separated from the truck traffic, and because we're providing the significant number of van storage spaces, it's over 244. It's pre-set up to have the charging stations available. I don't know if there's a plan available we could pull up just for reference.
I don't think my site plan's gonna be detailed enough. The one I have.
I'm not quite sure how else to describe it for you, but the northerly and easterly sides are pre-set up to receive the electric charging stations.
Just 1 second.
Sure.
So that's the aerial, and then that's the site plan.
Yes.
So this area and then this area?
Correct. More so to the east of in that area right there.
Okay.
It's pre-set up on both sides of that row to receive the charging stations.
Okay.
Claire, I can't see your cursor.
Is it here? Can you see
Now
it?
I can.
Okay.
You weren't moving it, so I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I know.
That darker gray you see in there, that's the bank where they'd be available.
Oh, here? Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay.
On either side.
Okay. I don't think because it's a public place that it's that interest, that much of an interest. It's not like you're providing it as a service. This is accessory to your use, right? It'd be your vans doing the EV.
Correct.
Are you satisfied with that, Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a site plan approval, you might want to see some details of how many stations are they located on the, where exactly are they located and what do they look like? And,
okay.
It's not really a traffic concern, but it's more of a site plan issue. I will say that the plan you have up is not the one that shows the modifications.
Oh, yes, here. That's
right. And Collins Way, the median island on Collins Way that was submitted, but that.
Do you have that, Kristen or any?
Eric, can you
that?
see?
Yes, I have our rendered plan from the last work session, if that works.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one.
For the modification. So that,
yeah, it shows the island west of the roundabout in the center of Collins Way. And also just the entering traffic coming into the employee lot off of Collins Way. And then the combination of the exit from the employee lot with the van exit on site. So those recommendations were incorporated, so I assume those will find their way to a site plan as well.
Right.
And can you just indicate where the covered area is going to be?
on the area?
For vehicles that are parked, is that right where your cursor is, Claire?
It's her cursor, yes.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. That's the covered area.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was at one of the ends. My memory of the illustration that you had.
Madam Chair, it's at the end of the face of the building, but it's on the side of the building that's away from Old Riverhead Road, purposefully.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're showing, just want to check, we're showing BOCES. Does BOCES show on any of this? Have you incorporated that?
BOCES is not part of the development. It's, just to the southwest, and obviously the counts that were previously done were done when BOCES was operational. So it has been captured and considered. And, to Ray's point, we can analyze a year in and see if there's additional impact. But based on, what we've analyzed, we don't expect there to be.
And just to be clear, the board was acceptable to the year after the CO is issued as the assessment?
So that brings us to what date though? Is it years?
Well, that would be depending on when they get their CO, and the site plans are good for 2 years. They might be very interested in building this tomorrow. So it could be 3 months from now if they put it up fast, but it would just be from a year from the CO. So they'd be up and operational, and that there is a lead time, I understand, from when they start to operate to full occupation and operations. So I think a year is sensible,
Right. I just don't want to eliminate our opportunity to step in if there's a problem that shows up.
I think you can on some levels too. This applicant's not really going away either. They're very reachable. So, we can bring it to their attention. But I just think the year is a good point, because after 6 months, it might not be fully operational. So what are you assessing, without the year? And do you agree, Ray?
I think we may have written it as a year after steady state operation occurs, which is basically, so it's further than that after the CO.
Okay. This is Michael Kelleher from Amazon. I can answer one of the questions if you like.
Sure.
Typically steady state would be about 6 to 8 weeks after we start delivering our packages. It's about a 6 to 8 week process to get fully running from when we start, if that's helpful to the board.
Oh, that's not long at all then. So it could be.
If I may, Claire, I can read some language that I've worked on with the help of Ray Tobias for the board. And if you'd like something different, we can certainly do that.
Okay.
We talked about Clarence shall conduct a traffic assessment for the planning board's review and consideration a minimum of 1 year after the facility's full occupancy, with full occupancy being measured at the time when steady state operation consistent with the average amount of traffic and goods during any given day throughout the year has been achieved.
Okay.
And steady state in parens means what? Fully operational?
It means the average amount of traffic and goods during any given day throughout the year has been achieved. So it's up and operational. I'll defer to Ray. That was his language.
Okay.
Yeah, I borrowed that from what the applicant submitted.
Do we want a definition?
I quoted it, yeah.
Do we want just that definition, like a little bit?
Yeah, put a parens, because otherwise, that's their language. It's not ours.
Okay. Well, sounds good. So where we're at is the applicant, we have started with referrals in the project, and obviously the project's changed a little bit with that one driveway being changed. So we're gonna have new plans that I will re-refer to the applicable agencies. But the applicant has asked at the last meeting to be deemed complete, but prior to that, you have to make a SECRA finding. In the past, because there was a full GEIS on this project, you have, with every project, determined that this is consistent with that GEIS. And in this case, you asked for additional information. You asked for traffic analysis. And then additionally, I asked for some air assessment because of the number of cars and the idling question and things like that. So the applicant has provided an air assessment so that if you're comfortable with that information, which Chick is here to explain it, if you'd like a little bit more information on it, we can proceed. You can proceed with a finding that this project is consistent, and they can proceed with a public hearing for the project. Did you all get the air assessment? Did you have any questions?
I didn't see it.
I sent it yesterday.
And I missed it.
Okay, do you want Chick to just do an overview?
Yeah, Chick can.
Okay, do you mind stop sharing? Yeah, just so Chick can speak.
Good afternoon. That sounds like my cue. Hey, Dennis, Jackie, board members, Chick Voorhees, Nelson Pope Voorhees on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for the intro, Claire. Yes, Claire had flagged this as a potential environmental issue, and I prepared a report that is dated March 9th, 2021. Hopefully Claire will get that to you. Basically, it looks at the location of the proposed project, which you all know. It does characterize the existing and the proposed development, and what was actually looked at in the GEIS, what was looked at the time that the county assigned the master developer, in this case, Reckler Equities and their various companies that have been developing the site. And it talks about how there's been a significant reduction in the total amount of development that could be realized on the property. And that's not directly applicable, but it is indirectly applicable to potential air impacts. And potential air resource impacts were not identified in the original EIS work that was basically for over 800,000 square feet of space. And currently the full build out of this, including the last site that you don't have before you at this time, is less than 400,000 square feet of space. So it's a lot less than what was anticipated originally. And that was really the only point of that. And then it characterizes the proposed development at 245 Rogers as being the 88,060 square feet of development that you're aware of. We did look to characterize the existing air resources. So we looked at temperature, wind direction, prevailing winds, instability of the atmosphere, which basically means that you do get pretty significant winds and gustiness, which tends to disperse air contaminants. And also the fact that the topography is flat, so you don't have a bowl effect where, you know, there's a basin where air contaminants could collect. We looked at the regulatory framework and the National Ambient Air Quality Standards and included that in the text of the document. And then we looked more locally at the DEC requirements and DEC monitoring of existing air quality. And actually from the Riverhead Station and even the Holtzville Station for monitoring, air quality has been generally good. And even ozone, where Suffolk County has been a non-attainment area historically, at least in Riverhead, they're approaching that limit under the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. So it's just good to kind of characterize the resource so you know what you're looking at. As you would expect intuitively, the primary concern here would be automobile traffic. So our air assessment looks, number one, at the scale of development, as I said, and the fact that this is much less than originally expected to be developed. Number two, those physical and meteorological conditions that would indicate we would not expect an air quality impact. Number three, that existing air quality is quite good in this area for those reasons based on monitoring as well as dispersion. Number four, we looked at potential receptors. And there are no potential sensitive receptors within the area. And what we used for that was the New York State Department of Transportation environmental manual for the purpose of determining receptors. And I actually looked at this further, and anything more than 50 feet away is not considered a sensitive receptor. So we did talk about, I heard you mention BOCES before. They do have a learning center. It's about 600 feet from where this development is proposed, but it would not be considered a sensitive receptor under the state DOT definition, which is really the most applicable definition. And there are no assisted living areas, hospitals, residential areas, even within a half a mile of the site. And so that's all documented. The primary way to look at air resource impacts is under the Environmental Procedures Manual that determines when you have to go into more detailed analysis. And so you do have a detailed traffic study that shows that all of the level of service at the Collins Way, County Road 31 intersection is level of service B or above. And the Environmental Procedures Manual recognizes that anything between A through C does not require microscale analysis for air emissions from traffic. So we included the capacity analysis tables in our analysis and referenced the DOT Environmental Procedures Manual to indicate that microscale analysis is not needed. And again, intuitively, that's because we're not causing significant congestion as a result of traffic flow. Therefore, you don't have excessive idling under the parameters of the traffic study. And therefore, we do not have excessive air emissions as a result of that. And that's all fully referenced to the proper technical manual. So we included all of that in a summary. One thing that's interesting is that the road itself has about 13 to 14,000 cars per day on County Road 31 based on traffic counts. And we're adding less than 10% to the intersection. And also that there's a centralized station that promotes delivery of goods in a more efficient way and actually reduces vehicle miles traveled on the road. And that we coordinated with Atlantic Traffic, members of which are on the call today, and thought that that was an important point to note. So based on all of that, we found that there was no adverse air resource impacts. And I think that we're consistent with anything that was considered in the finding statement and the original EIS work, which did not identify air as an impact of concern. But we've gone further to provide you with this information so that you're taking a hard look. So that's a summary. The report is 15 pages, and it basically tells you what I just summarized. So I'm here if there are any questions.
So Chick, I just have a comment. I have not read the report. Somehow or another, I didn't get a copy. We're not looking at so much as square footage. That was your first analysis, how much square footage. It's hundreds of square feet less. That's not going to create air quality necessarily, but this is a transportation hub with vehicles that are operating on gasoline. And there's are fumes that come from that. So your last analysis where you went to a chart from the Environmental Procedures Manual, which is always baffling to me because, you know, when you live in the area and there's pollution in the air, you think, what good was that chart, you know? And so that is my concern here, that we've never seen an application with the intensification of vehicles as this. So it's unique. We're not going to know how to measure it other than by these fairly esoteric charts. So this is just a comment that I'm making because I do find the intensification of all of those vehicles could potentially be a problem down the road, and certainly for BOCES across the street and whatever. That combined with the very heavily trafficked road that it is. So.
And thank you for the comment. Just real quick, if I could, and I went over this, but there is a methodology that's established and recognized to determine if microscale analysis is needed, and we don't meet the threshold. So that, along with the additional information that was provided, it would lead me to believe that no significant adverse air impact will occur. And while you do have the concern, we also have the responsive document to that concern that indicates that sufficient analysis has been done, and based on detailed traffic analysis, we don't meet any thresholds that would cause concern.
So the micro threshold is it based on the number of vehicles? Is that the measure?
It's based on capacity analysis, which is the flow of traffic through an intersection.
Okay, that's a different animal.
Yeah, and you recognize level of service. You hear that all the time in traffic studies. In this case, all level of service is either A or B. None are C. And under the microscale threshold, you can go to C level of service without needing microscale analysis. But certainly if you get to D or E, that's a different story. But we have, good flow of traffic based on the analysis, and that allows me to conclude that microscale analysis would not provide any additional information.
I have one.
Lorianne?
Yeah, one sort of question comment. I believe the Amazon vans will be running on electric. And it would only be the people who come in with their own vehicles, the subcontractors, that would be actually adding to the volume of vehicles and pollution. Am I correct? And so there is a mitigation in some of the activity because it's electric.
Yeah, and all I can say is that would make it even less likely that air emission impacts would be of concern. The cars are counted on the road, and therefore they're part of the intersection capacity analysis. But to the extent that those cars don't generate emissions, the air impact would be even less. So it's a very good point. We could always supplement and provide that information as additional evidence that there's no adverse impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I would just
where I'm coming from is the fact that the vans or the people's cars, if they're idling while they're waiting to be filled up, that creates real pollution, not just the cars on the road, because when you're in an idling mode, the pollution is worse and it's concentrated. So I think that's the sort of where my concern would be, rather than how many cars are on the road and whether they're slowing down.
Yeah, Michael, can you address that, please?
Yeah, I'd like to address both points. First, on the electric vehicles, we have a plan for electric vehicles that will be implemented within the next 5 years. However, we not all vans will be electric, and they will be implemented in the next 5 years. How many vans at each delivery station? So I don't want to promise that every delivery station would have 100% electric vehicles. The other comment is that Amazon has a no idling policy for that exact point that you mentioned, ma'am, that we do not want vans to be idling while being loaded or waiting to load. And we have our yard marshals will ensure that policy is followed.
Yeah, the town also has a no idling code as well.
Yeah, we definitely agree with that policy, ma'am.
You don't mind signage through that site, a little bit of signage that also enforces that, would you? Yeah.
That wouldn't be a problem to add if that's was needed.
Yep. Okay.
So would you say about 20% of your fleet will be electric to start off with?
No, I wouldn't say that. As I said, because we have, essentially we're creating the market for Rivian to produce these vans, that they're just being tested right now. And you've seen the commercials for some of them in San Diego and so forth. But our plan is to implement, I think, 100,000 vans by 2025. And each of the individual delivery stations will have some, but I can't say that there's 100 will go to West Hampton and 50 will go to Shirley. That's a number that I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows at this point.
So you're producing 100,000 for the country.
That's right. That's right, ma'am.
It's a good first start. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions about traffic, air pollution, anything?
I think I would just maybe clarify one of the comments. There was kind of a clarification that this was one of the largest transportation hubs that you guys have ever looked at. while you are distributing packages throughout the area, and they're obviously storing vans, it's not a destination for a large trip generation. You know, you have a set amount of vans and employees who are coming in and out of the facility, and we evaluated that from a traffic point of view and provided, you know, capacity analysis for that. But, you know, if you're looking at like a large shopping center that's a big attraction, and you're getting trips throughout the day, especially a Saturday peak.
We just don't have them.
You're gonna see a
We
lot more.
don't have shopping centers. We don't.
You know, they
Our
used to have
threshold
one.
is 50 parking spaces.
I
We
just,
don't have them. We just don't have them. So this is the biggest. This is the biggest.
Right.
So. But I think the board's taken a very hard look with a lot of help from Ray, which is great. I don't know if you have no more questions, we can proceed. One cleanup item is that Ray needs to be paid. So the planning board would adopt a resolution for some additional funds over the last couple meetings to a total of $6,990 total. So if the board would like to pass a resolution to that effect, we can get him paid.
We want to do that now?
Yes, please.
Can I have a motion to agree to pay Ray by Gloria and second by Zuccarelli? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. You are paid, Ray.
Just remember who your friends are, Ray.
Claire, thank you for not passing that around.
That's a Christmas card.
And I think that's good. Thank you so much thank Ray for all his help, and we're gonna definitely let him know how it goes.
Can we authorize the public hearing and the referral to the county in completeness?
We can. As I said, you're making the statements, and based upon all the information that's been submitted to date, the updated traffic analysis, the updated site plan, the the air assessments we've just heard from, and the conditions of approval coming from the traffic analysis would all be part of your finding that the secret is consistent with the original GEIS.
Claire, that would also include the definition changes to PDD.
Exactly. And that's all workable. That's all like the conditions of approval. So, but you're generally blessing all the information you've been reviewing for the last couple meetings, which has been great. Hard work on everybody's part. So I can write that resolution. I've already started it. But we would basically then deem the application complete, do any cleanup referrals, and schedule the public hearing for April 8th.
So we'll do this next piece on March 25th and then schedule.
I'm recommending you do it. And the conclusion, the finding is, just as I said, it's based upon the traffic analysis and the conditions, which you've already seen.
But we haven't seen your document that states all of this that's down in.
It's going to refer to the other documents. It's going to refer to, I believe you've seen the conditions that Kathleen you've seen those conditions. Those are the conditions. Those are your basis.
Yeah, I circulated those about a week ago, a little over a week ago, maybe 2 weeks.
Have they been changed at all or updated?
No, but we'll clarify that one condition, that steady state condition.
Yeah, that plus I think we need some language that you and Guy Gemino, Kathleen need to discuss, and there's just some detail.
Yeah, I think he's acquiesced that I'd like the county to
Yes,
pay
we've
the
agreed to the language with Kathleen. Yeah. That was before the last meeting, before the 25th, we agreed on that.
So what's our action, Claire? If we have any here.
Be deeming the application complete with the statement and the finding that is consistent with the original secret of GIS based upon the traffic analysis updated by the applicants and the traffic input from Ray recommended those conditions, the air analysis, the air assessment that was submitted, and any conditions related to that with the CNRs. That would be the statements in the completeness resolution and recommending a hearing for April 8th.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yes. I move the motion.
Borelli moves the motion. Second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
6 in favor. I'd like to get a copy of it, Claire, and please the air pollution copy.
Absolutely. I'll send the air pollution now and you'll get the resolution first thing in the morning.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you. Nice to see you
Appreciate
all.
it.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good one.
One more item for you.
Flying point.
Yes, the flying point. So let me bring it up.
Is that a walk-on?
It is a walk-on. Yes, I sent that to you also. Oh, I'm sorry. They kicked me out. So the site plan, which Dennis correctly said, there
Oh,
was,
yes, this
they
is the-
took away his shower.
Yeah.
But they put it back.
Site plan on my phone. It didn't work.
Scoundrels.
I know. So they're replacing this attendance booth entirely, but in the same kind in place. The building's staying, but the decks are being rebuilt and the walkways being rebuilt, and they're redoing the inside, the interior of the building. I will do a steady resolution, just a simple resolution that says approved, conditioned on the location of the outdoor shower being shown on this plan.
Right.
How's that sound?
That sounds good. Okay.
I keep,
Dennis, make a motion.
probably shouldn't say this on the record, but I keep a bar of soap on the top rafter. No one else in the town can reach it.
Now I can get it. Right? Okay, so motion by Dennis, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have one more thing to do. It's within our purview to appoint a secretary, and we will need a secretary for minutes, attendance, and map signing. And so it's up to the board to elect someone. So I'll entertain a nomination.
I'll nominate Gloria Burke.
I'll second.
Gloria Burke, you second by Robin.
I'll second
All
that.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I have
Opposed,
to vote?
abstentions, 6 in favor.
And
Gloria.
0 additional compensation, Gloria.
That was.
Gloria, thank you.
Fine.
Thank you and congratulations.
I'm sorry to have to take over the spot.
I know.
So
I know.
it's very
Well,
sad.
But thank you for picking up the baton. So motion to adjourn. We don't have a lot of time. It's 5:30. Motion by Robin, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.